Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens, Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle. We are on episode 131. I hope you guys had a great Friday, and I know this should be a good episode. We have another great Michigan grower, another fun person in our community, so that we're in for a good night. We have Mary Jane of Mary Jane's Meds Garden. How you doing tonight? You want to say hello and tell us where we can find you?
Good. How you doing tonight? Um, I am
Pretty
Mary
good.
Jane's Med Garden on Instagram. That is the only place you can find me that I will answer anything garden related. Uh, I live in a small town, so I try to keep it to one place.
I don't blame you there. I don't blame you there at all. So, how was your day? You said it was briefly hectic. Hopefully, not too bad. But how was your day
Oh,
overall?
yeah, it was a good day, but it was a very hectic day. I ended up driving across the state today, and I hadn't planned on it.
That can make for a hectic day, that's for sure.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
never know. It could have been pretty welcome though, as well. Anymore a good excuse to get out of the house and travel is almost a welcome, at least for me anyway.
The sunset was killer.
Oh, there was some beautiful red. I don't know if you've seen it where you were at, but man, I seen a lot of beautiful red in the clouds. Red and gray is what I had over my house. It was really beautiful where I seen
Yeah, I had a good view of the whole thing in my rear view mirror as I was driving, so it was really beautiful sunset tonight. I should have stopped and taken pictures, but I was just hell bent on making it here on time. So
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that because I've looked down your page many a times and you take some beautiful scenic pictures.
thank you so
Are
much.
all those here in Michigan, by the way? Are all those shots from Michigan, or do you travel to other locations and get them great shots?
I travel around Michigan a little bit if I can. I don't always get to because of, what we do for a living, but if I can travel around Michigan a little bit, I try to. Um, but most of my shots are really local and all from Michigan.
Well, you've
I like,
got great eye, that's for sure.
thank you. I like
That's
to
for
do this
sure.
thing called random dirt road sunset where I'll just, twist and turn down a couple dirt roads and go find an empty field and start taking pictures.
That's pretty badass, honestly. Sounds like a pretty good way to spend your afternoon or evening, early evening for sure.
Gets a little creativity
Uh,
firing if I can.
keeps you grounded too. I mean, there's no better way than actually be out in nature, almost that zen forest bathing, if you will, breathing
Hmm.
in them pines. It's very relaxing, very relaxing.
I agree 100%.
Well, usually when we get this show going, we usually get to know the person. I try to get to know the person. I say we because I always feel weird saying that, but I feel that the chat and because we're live, it's not just us. You know what I mean? They're in on
Right.
this just as what. So I have a hard time saying I, but I like to start to get to know the person right from the get. Where did they? When was that first experience with the plant? Do you mind telling me when you partaked for the first time? Or it was, if that wasn't your first experience, when was? It doesn't, I guess, have to necessarily mean when you used. I guess it could be when you first seen or touched it as well.
Sorry, I'm trying to get back to the.
No worries. And why we're kind of like on the technical side of things, every so often, Zoom likes to play this game with me where it likes to kick me off. And if that happens and you notice I just disappear, You will now be the host, and this will be
Oh,
100% your show, and
okay.
I will be right back. So no, don't fear, just kind of, hang out. And if you've got chat going, maybe converse with chat for a second. But
No
it
problem.
happens occasionally.
Yeah, I'm having
And
a hard time bringing up the chat. That's why I was monkeying with this for a minute. So,
are you on a phone or a laptop? iPad?
I'm on the phone right now. So I couldn't do the laptop option today. So,
I was asking for the damn song already. It's too early for the damn song. Yeah, it was a great day today in northern Michigan. Not too hot, not too cool. I think it's just been just right. I think we're already heading into the fall shift. Heaven forbid. Up here, up here, it happens fast.
yeah, it does. It does. My plants are definitely on that schedule. And so are a lot of other Michigan growers that are dependent on the sun.
Right on. So,
So,
when was that first experience with the plant? I don't know
um,
if you heard me when I asked.
my first experience, I was a little older. I was 19. I know most kids do it when they're so young and whatever, but I was 19, which is probably fine because at least my brain was ready for it. But um, I was 19 and I got high with all my roommates, and I was so geeked because I felt normal. I didn't feel high. It made me feel like I, was normal. I had, it kind of pushed all my crazy anxieties away and all the issues that I had that um, I was a anxiety ridden teen. So uh, it kind of helped all that. And I was able to let myself be creative in my own space without being in my own way. As I got older, I got more
So,
medical needs.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said, as I got older, I had more medical needs that I have patient reasons that I use the plant now. But when I was young, it was a self-medication for anxiety.
So, do you remember the initial strain that you tried? Some people don't. Maybe bag seed.
I
Depends
have
on
no
the time
idea.
frame.
Yeah. It was something that, it was brown and seedy and, you know, it, it was the 90s. It wasn't like weed is now. And it was the early 90s. So it really wasn't like weed is now.
Hmm. Yeah, things were different about then. Just kind of doing the math there. It sounds like we're right about the same age. I would say I graduated in '91, so sounds like we're pretty close in age there. So yeah, it was pretty brick shitty weed, and if you could find some good homegrown occasionally, it was nice to find. Uh so did it escalate right off the bat? I mean, it must have. If you enjoyed it and you say it made you feel normal, how could you not want to
Oh
get
yeah, I
back
went
to
out the
that
next day and bought
place?
a bag. I went out the very next day and bought a bag of weed and pretty much haven't been without it since. I've just gained more reason to have medical purposes to be smoking it.
Right on, right on. Uh, so as you smoked, yeah, I mean, yeah, you obviously noticed the medicinal value of it right away. Did you Did you think of it as a medicinal value right off the bat, or was it just a overall just good feeling? Or
No,
euphoric
I
good
I knew it had medicinal value right off the, right from the get-go. It it I don't tend to like things that don't. So, all the stuff I dabbled with my youth, that, I never leaned toward anything that didn't have medicinal value. So,
So how long was it that you just had to be a buyer, if you will? How long before you actually started growing the plant?
I first started growing when it became medical in Michigan. I started growing um, in uh, 2009,
Nice.
and
That
because
was
I was never able to bring myself to deal with the anxiety of doing it illegally before that. Though I was a caregiver, as far as I used to go get cannabis for different cancer patients and things like that, and I made sure that they always had cannabis if it was needed. So I did take on the caregiver role fairly early, even though it wasn't legal to be a caregiver at the time.
well. I guess let's back up and start. Right around there. You know what I mean? Uh, So when did it escalate from that moment to where you knew it was kind of helping you, or it was just something that was right for you, to wow, this is a medicine and I can help other people. How far from A to B was that?
Well, I knew it was right for me kind of all along, but as far as it being right for other people, um, my aunt had cancer really bad. She was fighting it. It started with breast cancer and then spread into every place else in her body. And I knew cannabis helped her a lot. I would go over there and smoke with her every Sunday, and we would watch TV and do puzzles and just smoke together and talk. And I could see how much it helped her, how much relief it brought her um, through chemo and everything that she was going through for all of her treatments and just the whole fight. And so I was, but at that point, I didn't really know I was being a caregiver, but I was just handing her weed out of my bag. I knew I had more weed than she did. So I was just giving her my shit. I didn't even care. I just wanted to make sure that she had weed.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Uh, and well, quality time well spent, I'm sure, for sure.
Yeah, I
Uh,
had a lot of fun memories.
so was that you mentioned that there was others. I mean, heaven forbid that you know other cancer patients, but how many before? I mean, lead me up to the actual getting your card there. You know what I mean? Take me through your journey if you will.
Um, well, I became a caregiver before I ever had my patient card. Um, Not because I didn't believe I was a patient, but because I was more worried about other people. They had better reasons than I did to have the card, even though I was, self-medicating with it all along for pain, um, and anxiety, that I could have just gone and easily gotten my card, but I didn't for a long time, and I was a caregiver for about 5 years before I went and got my patient card. But I'm I was more about growing. I didn't care about smoking it as much as, you know, you can take all my smoke away, but don't make me stop growing it.
I can relate, to be honest with you. Once I got my hooks into growing, I felt the same way, and I'm pretty sure I know why. Because it wasn't. It had to have been that same feeling for you as it is for me, and much like everybody else, I think that truly cultivates the plant for the first time, it is a whole new it is a whole new window of it. I mean, you can actually set set the cannabis aside. I don't, because that's one of my favorite places to be. But I probably could get away with not smoking as heavily in there for sure, because it's such a great feeling. You talk about dealing with anxiety and all that stuff. When I don't know, I'm sure it's the same. It's got to be the same when you're in that garden. There really isn't any anxiety. You know what I
No.
mean? Or if there's any when you were walking towards the garden, you pretty much either leave it at the door or it's sucked out of you at the door
Mm-hmm.
from them girls. And you know, we've talked about. Oh, we haven't talked about it, but you know, I've heard about them being able to clean the land and stuff. Radioactivity out of the ground and just overall cleaner of the soil, if you will. But I think it cleans us. It actually pulls out our negative energy and turns it into something positive as well. And it's a wonderful place. I mean, the growing part as itself is a medicine. Do you not agree?
Oh, I agree totally. I actually have slept in my garden for years. Actually had just a regular bed in the greenhouse, and I slept in my garden for years. And so to be in there all night, wake up in the morning with them, you know, me and them feeding off each other all night long. It definitely they take on your attitude. Um, so you have to go in there with a positive light, a positive face, and and you know, go in there with the intention to do good. I've had depression gardens before, and they were not nearly as beautiful as my regular garden is. So
Yeah,
they
they actually
everything.
took all of it and weren't successful. It must have been a deep one, to be honest with you. You know.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah,
Well, I'm glad to.
slept in there for several years. I had gotten ripped in 2014, and after that, I was like, "Oh, nobody's taking my stuff. I'll just sleep out here." So, but I actually really,
I
really
can
enjoyed.
understand. So initially, it was because of maybe security reasons, or you just like to be out there.
It was security reasons, but then it became a flat out, I just like to be out there. Now I hate
I can
sleeping indoors.
appreciate that. Nice, nice. I'm not. I can appreciate you waking up because you grow outdoors, 100% outdoors, correct?
Right now I've been doing it because I'm actually in the process of building a greenhouse. I'm building a I sold my other place, and I'm moving and building another greenhouse. So I'm in the process of the build. Hopefully I'll finish it, by the end of this season. So I'll be able to continue on with the winter season. It'll have lights and stuff. It'll be warm. I'll be able to actually grow year round instead of only being seasonal. I'm very excited about that.
But and just to be able to fall asleep, that's got to be a pretty zen experience all in itself. I can't imagine. Uh, it's fun up here in northern Michigan to sleep in a tent too. It's northern Michigan, damn it. You don't know what the fuck's running around out here. You're not going to sleep out in a fucking lawn chair and shit and enjoy the northern skies. But in a greenhouse environment, there we get some beautiful, beautiful starry nights, man. I can't imagine drifting off, looking up at them starry skies and being able to just lose myself off into a dream. That's got to be pretty awesome. And then to wake up, surrounded by the the plants that I love so much. I can see how you would not want to leave there for sure. You know?
Yeah, that was
Oh
my
yeah.
favorite part. You lay there in bed and look at the stars and smell the green, and you can look around the greenhouse and just see the moonlight hitting all the ladies, and it was just beautiful. It's my favorite place to be.
You know, as an indoor grower, I actually do that. There is many times that I, in this fucking very chair, I kick back during the day and throw on some binaural beats right here and just, snap out in this room. It's a good place, just like you said. But it's no greenhouse. It's no greenhouse, that's for damn sure. And there's another thing I think that would be super cool about that is that nighttime, when they off gas, when the lights out and they're really, really fragrant. You know what I mean? I can
Hmm.
you when I'm home, I can smell it when it's lights out. I can tell when lights is freshly out. You know what I mean? That thing's just turned off. That first half hour there when they're really kicking.
Hmm.
I can't imagine, because I'm intense, and it's been a long time since I've been in a room. Even when I was in a room, I wasn't in the room during lights out. You know what I mean? So I can't imagine being in a greenhouse type of environment. Just being in there when that time comes and they're just kicking off them terps max, and it's just like so floral in there. It's got to be intoxicating all in itself, eh?
Because I pretty much lived in there, I couldn't smell it. Like it was like into my skin, into my hair, into everything. Like people at the grocery store would just take steps. I would see them inching away from me because it was just permeated through my whole entire body because I slept in there every night for so long. And it was always during flower mostly. But I would sleep out there during veg just to like establish residency. So that way, if somebody ever did break into the greenhouse and something happened, then they were breaking into a woman's bedroom. They weren't just breaking into a greenhouse full of plants. It was, you know, you, walk out there, there's my clothes laying on the floor, and, it was my bedroom. It was my house. I lived there.
That's funny. I've heard people use that the term "kush is my cologne," but that gives it a whole new meaning. Yeah, that it's just permeated throughout like that, and I don't. It wouldn't bother me none. You know what I mean? I find the smell very pleasant, to be honest with
I
you.
don't mind it,
Doesn't
but other people do. Little
that
old ladies at
that
the
in
grocery
itself?
store working.
Even in these times, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, people are a lot more open
so,
to
when
it these days.
did you dive into outdoors immediately, or did you start off indoors?
I started off um in a tiny little grow closet in my house and grew one season in there and got barely anything, but just learned about the plant a little bit. And then I went outside because I got several clones from a friend. They were all orange kush. And so I grew 4 orange kush out in a big dog kennel. And that was my first really successful experience with growing cannabis, of where I actually pulled something off the plant that I was proud of.
Probably super terpy out there on the outdoor sunlight.
Hmm.
Them orange terps are always super good for great moods. Great moods.
Yeah, and
Is that the
Kush
terp
does well
profile? You like
usually.
fruity strains?
I do like fruity strains, usually not citrusy stuff, but Kush does well in Michigan for me usually. So
I keep forgetting that you focus mainly on the outdoors. With that being said, let's. I don't know. I place to go here. Let's go. Let's stay the grow aspect of it. So, when you stepped outside the first time, you said it was like a dog kennel, smaller space. Did you increase in size on the outdoors as you kind of went?
Um, Actually, I grew in that dog kennel for several years, and then my mom gave me a greenhouse that my father and I had built for her, but she wasn't using it anymore. So I put it on a trailer, trucked it over to my house, and started growing in this little 10 by 12 homemade greenhouse. And you can actually, if you scroll all the way down to the very, very bottom of my feed on Instagram, you can see one picture from that greenhouse. There's one picture of the greenhouse totally full. It was the first plant picture I ever posted on Instagram.
So,
But it's 6 years of pictures you gotta scroll through. So that's, good luck there.
yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and that's 3,000. I don't even have that many posts, and I know for a fact, even to just do this, it
Yeah.
takes like 45 minutes to
Oh
get
yeah.
to zero.
Oh, definitely.
I can't even
Yeah.
imagine. I can't even imagine.
But yeah, a picture from that little greenhouse was the first picture I had posted on Instagram. Because I had I'd grown in that greenhouse for a couple years just by myself in the quiet, just learning, trying to do better every time I did it. And I kind of had a friend helping me over my shoulder that had grown indoor at his house for several years, but I got to a point where I kind of outgrew him and he couldn't help me anymore because we didn't grow the same. I
So it
had
sounds
been,
like you may have had a. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I was
It's
gonna say it sounded like you had a little bit of grow in you anyway. If mom had a greenhouse to begin with, it sounds like there was a little bit of gardening going around. Maybe not marijuana, but gardening none the same. The tactics, can be transferred over. So you sounds like you had a little bit of gardening experience before you dove
Yeah,
in.
my parents are very cannabis positive people, but my all the women in my family are very successful at growing things. Not all of them grew cannabis, but they all grew things and did it well.
Well, that like I said, it all relates. As I get deeper and deeper into my cannabis knowledge, I find myself reaching it further and further out of anything related to cannabis. To be honest with you, general gardening tips, botany, all kinds of things to see what will I can bring back and relate to the cannabis plant. And if you have other gardeners that had them techniques, any gardener, how to, you could go to any one of them and be like, I need to increase my nitrogen. You know what I mean? I need a little
Mhm.
help in the pea area. And they could,
Yeah.
yeah, have you tried this? And, so there's a wide base of knowledge there that'd be pretty cool to have nonetheless, cannabis or no cannabis at plates, that's for sure. And I guess while we're on that subject, I guess I don't want to like zigzag back and forth, but as I've learned this year, see, I like I said, I've grown pretty much. I've had a couple of plants outdoors, single plants played with here and there. I've been always afraid of the outdoors, afraid of getting busted, somebody seeing it. But I have snuck a couple out, here and there. Nothing I'm gonna say I was an outdoor grower by any means. Damn it, I kind of screwed with that where I was going with that, to be honest with you. Shit. I completely lost 10 minutes where I was going with that. Man,
It's
I'm
cool.
completely sorry.
That's
Uh,
okay. No worries. You had
it
said not to get
happens. It
off
happens.
subject, so you were changing it to something else a little bit. So
Oh, I thank you so much. Thank you so much. You brought me right back. Up till this year, I hadn't really related other plants. I had thought about, filling some of these outer areas, as you can see in the tent, that's light being wasted with maybe some veggies or something like that. But I had never
Mhm.
really thought of anything of that I could utilize in the garden that related with cannabis. And as of this year, relating and talking to great people, great gardeners like yourself, I've come across a knowledge of a little bit of knowledge, and I have nothing again I'm bragging about, but I have something that I can dig into and research further, and that's like companion plants. And does
Mhm.
that something that you utilize in your garden? And again, that's
Yeah,
probably something you could
definitely.
reach out to an ant and be like, "How do I grow this?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Uh,
definitely companion plant. Um, as far as like what I like to keep in my garden, it's mostly herbs. I use a lot of the herbs to make different concoctions that I use to either, just use as, IPM, just as a preventative, um, or stuff like that. But or also I make a lot of burn sticks where I'll wrap herbs up and almost like I smudge my plants, but it really does a lot to keeping the grasshoppers on my greenhouse, which was a major problem at that greenhouse all the time. So if I would smoke up the greenhouse good every once in a while, the grasshoppers would hightail it and I wouldn't have them munching on my plants all the time. But it only worked in a nice
nice.
enclosed space.
That's pretty cool. I've never heard of that. That's a great one. Uh, do you utilize, you said mainly herbs, but do you use any kind of companion plants for to increase like turf production? I've heard them used in that aspect as well.
Not so much. I usually keep my pots, pretty bare as far as just the cannabis in them. I don't keep other plants in the pots with them. I do have other plants in the room that I just, aloe and things like that that I use as, food for my plants sometimes. I feed them a little bit of aloe here and there, and some of my teas that I make. So, I will grow plants in there that I use for food for my plants. If it's something that I can't collect outside regularly, that it's not something I come across all the time. Uh, I will grow it if I really, really want it.
Uh, that's pretty cool. Utilizing, it sounds like your garden's a very cool place. But so, do you want to maybe elaborate on some of the teas that you use? I mean, everybody's looking for a good tea or something that they can use in their garden. Is there anything you can share in that department?
As far as the teas go, I've gone for years and uh, made some different charts and stuff like that I have info that have been shared from other growers or that I've collected myself, and just basically like charts that contain nutrient amounts for different stuff you can collect. What are dandelion heads worth? What is horsetail worth? What is lamb's ears worth? Just so I can go ahead and figure out, how much NPK I'm going to get out of them or anything else that's real key. If I'm going to get, serious amount of anything out of whatever it is that I'm chopping up and putting in there. Um, I kind of go by that. I don't really use a pH meter because I just go by my amounts. Um, Most of those are pretty dead on if you're collecting stuff from the wild, which is mostly what I try to do.
That's pretty damn awesome right there. I've heard a lot of people in there making teas, but I've never heard anybody using like a process like that, and it makes perfect sense to be honest with you. And it blows my mind that you have a book that actually kind of is putting value to like the heads and stuff like that. I think that's really cool. That's
I
really cool.
I grow greenhouse style, but I do it organically instead of, because I don't use the living soil methods. I'm not trying to build my soil. My soil actually gets used up and worn out pretty quickly by my plants. I replace my soil every other year. But I try to basically use my teas as food for the plants strictly. They're just being fed, just like they would be in the commercial greenhouse, because that's what I got used to growing. And as far as greenhouses go, I worked in for 20 years. I worked in commercial greenhouses growing vegetables, flowers, geraniums, all the normal garden plants. And I got so used to growing that method that I kind of transferred it over into my own greenhouse, but adapted it into organic once I got good at cannabis. And I was using bottled stuff the first couple of years I was growing in my greenhouse. And then I transitioned and learned a little bit about all the values of the plants and what I can do to make fertilizer that was equal to the stuff that I was feeding them out of the bottle.
That's that's pretty awesome. That's a nice transition into cannabis. Excuse me.
It's a lot of
20 years in the greenhouse and then start growing cannabis. It should have been a pretty easy transfer there. I'm surprised that you needed some help there. Like, you mentioned you had a
well,
friend help you there early
usually
on, and you passed him quickly. 20 years of greenhouse. I can see that. That's a lot of experience in the garden.
But when I first started growing cannabis, I started growing indoor, and I didn't know indoor. And after the first time I did it, I was like, why the heck am I growing indoor? This is dumb. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to go outside and grow where I know how to grow. And once I started doing that and got real with myself, then I was much more successful.
That's I always wonder about that. I ask people that are more California based, 'cause they say they start outdoors, a lot of them, and then come in. And obviously, it sounds like it's a horrible transition.
Yeah.
That it's got to be more over plant size. I would think would have to be the biggest obstacle. Just to want to tone it down, you have to gotta be like, what? What? This is a baby. I wouldn't even think about flowering this outside.
I kind of baby step myself up into it, because when I first started growing even outside, wasn't even growing in the ground. I was growing in 5-gallon buckets, but I was still growing the same kind of greenhouse style that I grow, where you just kind of fill up the bucket and feed your plants a couple times a day. I make 2 teas every day and feed my plants alternately, morning and afternoon. That's almost like they're hydroponic, but they're in soil.
Nice, nice.
So they
Sound
get
like some.
lot of opportunity, a lot of opportunity to eat. And I alternate different teas. If I look at the plants and go, man, they're just not looking very green. I need something with more nitrogen, or I need something with more calcium in it. I need something with whatever it is that I feel that the plants need that day. I'll kind of direct a tea more towards that direction, so I can feed them that the next day. I
Well,
would just
there's a good
brew
one
24
right there.
hours.
If in a natural system like you're using, where you're gathering things around you. Let's say I've got some plants that are, cal deficient, and I wanted to utilize a tea that would help me out there. Where would I start with something like that? That would be cal heavy, that I could just put together like myself.
Usually I'll keep some bones around, do a little bone char or something like that. Go eggshells. And I hate doing eggshells because when I have to save them, I clean them. I'm just anal about the way I keep my shelf. But if I wasn't, then I would have raccoons and all kinds of crazy stuff all up in my greenhouse. And I couldn't afford to have the critters in there.
How bad is that on an outdoor greenhouse? I mean, the
Um,
smells, they're drawing them to it.
I have a very large cat that really does a good job to keeping that stuff away.
Yeah, that would be pretty wild. You talk about, sleeping in that greenhouse, which would probably be an amazing sleep. Uh,
Yeah, it
but
keeps them away.
nonetheless, like we're talking about, it's kind of inviting to nature. You ever have a fucking critter come up there and like kind of rattle on the wall there or on the glass, scare the shit out of you? I
Mostly
know
just
it's
the
got to
neighbor's
happen.
cows. You wake up in the
A lot of
morning
stuff
and there's
runs throughout.
all the cows standing there looking at me like, hey, can we eat some of that green?
That's funny. Is that something that cannabis does? Cows enjoy cannabis?
They must, because they were always really interested on trying to get in there. Every time they did get out, they would kind of hover around the greenhouse like, hey, what's up? That looks good. It must smell nice to them. Deer seem to like it, so I really don't think cows are very different.
Wonder if they have, the cannabis receptors, in their body like we do.
Yeah, I
Dogs
don't
have.
know. I've never looked it up, but they sure are always interested.
It's got to be something if they're drawn to it. There's got to be a reason. What are you
You
smoking
wake up,
on over there? I never asked that.
you wake up to some weird stuff when you sleep in a greenhouse. So
What are you smoking on right over there?
sour diesel.
Sour diesel?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. This particular stuff wasn't grown by me. I don't have cannabis right now, so I'm smoking other people's cannabis at this moment.
Hopefully it meets up to your standards there. I know.
Yeah, it's
Sounds like
okay.
it'd be tough. It sounds like your stuff is well grown. Well grown.
I try hard. That's for sure. I get
So
better every day. I just try to outdo myself.
so did how long were you in was it, did you say 10 by 12? The original greenhouse, the first greenhouse, original greenhouse.
I I grew 3 seasons in that greenhouse and then bumped up into a 24 by 30.
Nice. That's a lot nicer size there. It just yeah, that'd be a pretty fucking nice place to be. Pretty big girls
Yeah,
in a size like that.
that was why it was
So
so easy.
what strains do you prefer? I know we indicas are mainly best out here in our area, but
Yeah, definitely.
what in particular strains do you like out there?
I tend to choose fruity indicas most of the time just because that's what most of my patients like. Um, m- Most of my patients are either elderly or very terminal. Um, I have one guy that has lung cancer, another guy that has a tumor in his brain and one on his spine. Um, my favorite little old lady is 89 years old, and she has scoliosis, uh, and on her left side, her hip touches her ribs, and she uses cannabis to just medicate so she doesn't like to be wasted on opioids, as she puts it.
So, with that being said, I'm kind of curious. What's the ingestion method like in them cases? Do they prefer, RSO, fecal, or whatever, however you would like to call the oil? Many names anymore. Or smoking flower edibles.
The most popular things that I make and my patients use are I make pills with RSO in them. Usually they're a little bit of cannabis oil as a carrier, but I'll do like RSO doses like they would be taking it out of a syringe. I'll still do that, give them that grain of rice size dose, that they're supposed to be having in each pill, but they just don't like to taste it. So, and for little old ladies, it's a lot more comfortable to take a pill with the rest of their pills, rather than stinking up the whole house with cannabis. Um, Although they all will smoke flower and they don't mind stinking up the house with cannabis, but they prefer the pill for sure.
I like that. I like that. Nice follow up there. Although they will, and they don't mind.
Yeah, they do like their flower too. I won't definitely. So, but flower and RSO capsules are the most popular things that I have for my people.
I don't know why, but just the picture of seeing an older lady in her 80s just chiefing on a joint just warms my
Mhm.
heart.
She's really awesome.
I don't.
She pinches my cheeks when I bring her cannabis. Oh, sweetie, how are you?
Oh man, I can't even imagine how
Mhm.
what it's like to. I've never smoked with somebody that age. I'm not. I don't mind. I'll smoke with anybody, but I can honestly say, uh, never that old, and I just can't imagine passing on some meds. You know what I mean? And just seeing the face and like, oh, honey, come here. Like you say, pinching your cheek. Come on, some fat nugs.
That's
Damn,
exactly what
child.
she does. That's exactly what she does too. It's really awesome.
Oh, man. It sounds like a pretty good afternoon. I mean, them are the days
Oh, most definitely.
this is
Yeah.
why I do it.
Yeah. When I go to her
Oh,
house, I often will spend 3, 4 hours there just because I love talking to her. She's the most interesting woman. She's had a very just outrageous life.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. As I talk to some people like that, unfortunately, on my end, uh, all my family passed on early. I have nobody that in my family that's made it that age, so I don't get to hear them stories. But I do get a case. I've had some great people on the show. Indra, John Indra, who will be
Mm-hmm.
on tomorrow night, uh, who's 85, and I love listening to him. I love talking to him. He has such great stories. Mila Jansen, the Hash Queen,
Yeah.
similar. And, and I sit there and I listen to their stories and I think, what in the hell have I done with my life? You know what I mean? They tell stories going over to Europe and walking through India and all these great things and traveling the world. I'm like, man, I've been in Michigan most of my life, and yeah, end of story. I've had some good times here, but man, I feel so jealous listening to their older stories, all their stories, world travels, the moments in time when they started smoking. It's just I'm fascinated. Most of the time when Indra's on, I just camera off, and I'm like, I honestly, because he never cameras on anyway, so there's no point in everybody just staring at me do this. You know what I mean? For the whole
Right.
time he's on. But
Right.
realistically, I'm sitting in this chair and I'm like sitting like Indian style, and I'm just like this the whole time he's talking, and I am just like glued to the screen, even though I can't see him. I'm sitting there like I can, and I just, I'm almost in picturing everything he's saying, and he says it so well. It's one of my. It's his third one. Tomorrow will be his third time on the show.
Awesome.
I can't.
Awesome.
I can't wait. I absolutely love
I'll
listening
try to,
to
man.
it. He's one of the few that actually will go the distance. There's one time I actually had to go, Indra, I'm sorry, but I gotta go to bed. He went like the whole 6 hours, and I felt bad on cutting him off, but he said he'd come back, so it was all right. But
That's awesome.
it's good. Tomorrow will be an excellent night for sure, and I can only imagine having a patient like that to get to all the time. Like I said, it's one thing to be able to sit here and hear the stories, but to be able to firsthand, they're so much better. They're so much better. It's like the difference there is kind of reading a book or having a good narrator that actually like say either the gentleman that wrote the book, preferably in person or in audio, read it to you as you're listening, and they can tell the story so much better than you can. I love that. So
Yeah,
sounds like
exactly.
pretty good times.
Yeah, I enjoy visiting the patients I have. Most of them are older. I have another man who's 76. He's got MS, and him having flour makes a difference of whether or not he spends the whole day in that wheelchair or not. So, I've seen it. He can't walk up my 2 steps, and then he smokes a joint and he can walk up those 2 steps. So it's little things like that that the instant things like that you can see, that it makes it all worth it.
Well, yeah, if you could make anybody's quality of life better, I've been on the record of saying that as well. It's never too late to jump in with it. If you
Mm-hmm.
know somebody that's sick, it might actually be too late for the cannabis cure, if you will. It's not every answer, but if you can increase the quality of life from that moment on, why not? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? If you can make the rest of the journey at least comfortable, it's worth it. It's worth it to
And
at least,
yeah, and I see it for these 5
yeah,
people. I
that's
see it for
amazing.
these 5 people.
That's dang soon. That dang soon. I don't mean to keep cutting in on you,
Oh no,
Mary,
it's fine.
but
It's I'm able to wait for you. It's on this end. There's a delay, so.
that's pretty awesome that you actually are a caregiver that in the true sense of the word. And it sounds like you said, you've been one before right off the get. That's pretty awesome that you didn't go out and seek your patient card first, that you actually you know started helping others, and that's really cool. And with better, a great medicine. Outdoor is so much better. I wish I could do it. I really do. Uh, but and to hear you're going to be able to do it year round is pretty awesome. Uh,
I'm gonna have to
I
learn a
can't
little
wait.
little more indoor technique to get good at that one, because I will have lights. It's Michigan, you can't grow in the winter here without lights. So I'm gonna have to get the hang of that, and we'll see how that goes. Be a learning experience for me. Everybody gets to watch me grow. And not just
Well, that's
growing
pretty
weed.
cool. Are you going to share are you going to share as you learn?
I will once I get my greenhouse finished. I want to concentrate on getting everything taken care of the proper way without trying to document it. So I'll start sharing it when it's time. And it'll be nice. I'm really excited. It's going to be really beautiful.
I can only imagine. You know, that's the only way I can actually see the greenhouse experience getting better is to see it all lit up and see them beautiful girls and then see that 3-4 feet of fucking snow as a backdrop. You know, that'll be a
can't
cool experience all in itself right there.
I can't wait. I've slept out there a couple times when it was snowing just because I still had plants in the greenhouse. And it just happened to snow that night. But I think the latest I ever slept out there was, oh, it was just after Thanksgiving. It's like the 28th, 29th,
It's
something like
cold.
that.
It's cold
Yeah.
up here at that point.
Yeah. I had heater in there. Later, I got a pellet stove, so that was kind of killer.
So I'm curious to know, obviously, you know, I've never really dealt with a greenhouse, to be honest with you, at all. And I'm just basing this off like getting in a car during the warm summer or winter months. You know, it does heat up some, but not much. What is like the temperature swing in a greenhouse? I mean, what's the minimal without doing anything? What's the
Without
you know,
doing
like the
anything,
geothermal heat in the sun? What do you get from
without
that?
with doing nothing at all, and if if I just played my cards right, um and just made sure I shut my vents at the proper time during the day, because it really makes it's in the greenhouse, it's not so much everything that you're doing, but when you're doing it. It's really important for you to shut the vents at the right time. If it's going to be cold that night, go out there and capture that heat. You want to hold that in there. You don't want to let it go out with, as the sun goes down. You don't want to let that heat fizzle out. You want to make sure you capture a little bit of that, maybe even shut it, just a little bit before the sun goes down, so it has a little extra time to raise the temperature in there a smidge. So you even have a fighting chance of keeping it warmer longer. You kind of got to play your when cards at the right time.
Sounds like a better reason to be there all the time. To be honest with you,
Yeah, it
maximum
definitely.
control.
It's definitely a prisoner of love situation.
It's funny. I've thought it's funny anyway. Um, Many growers, like me and maybe yourself a little bit there. I don't know. This is my first time, my first pleasure of meeting you. Uh, a lot of us growers are a little bit introverted anyway.
Yeah,
So
very
this
much.
whole COVID experience, the stay home, you know, it's like, so
Whatever.
what's new?
So what?
I'm gonna stay home and smoke weed. That's the advice. Well, I've been doing that for the last 10, 20 years anyway. So the normal day. The only
Exactly.
difference is now it's like weird when you go out and you just want to get back to your garden when sooner.
Yeah,
Before I enjoyed my time out and I couldn't wait to get back anyway. But now it's like I just get my shit and I want to get back to my
yeah,
garden twice as fast.
exactly. Yeah. I'm very much like that, especially now since everybody's got to wear masks everywhere and everything. So just try to get in and get out as fast as I can without making anybody in town angry. It's a small town.
I,
Everybody already knows my business. So.
it's a different time, that's for sure. And you know, it sounds like you've got so many benefits kind of going out there on the in the greenhouse. There is like you're in soil, you're obtaining a lot of your material, your nutrients from your surroundings. So
Hmm.
again, this shit ain't affecting you. You know what I mean? I
No,
gotta go out to the grocery store. I'm hoping
right.
that they have my cocoa that it's getting harder and harder to get. You know
No,
what I mean? And you're
yeah, see,
getting
I
probably
make them
laughing
seaweed
at me
out of
going,
the pond. I'm out there raking up seaweed out of the pond in the sunshine, enjoying myself.
taking those nice nature pictures, not even stressing it. while while I'm dealing with the guy at the grocery store and the mask and all that good stuff. Yeah. Sounds like you've got a better system going out that way.
Definitely is easy on the nerves.
Right on. Right on. So I know I asked you, but I don't think I got an exactly like list of strain. You know what I mean? What are you growing in particular out there?
This year, I have every year, for the last, well, since I started growing, actually, I grow gifted clones. Um, I have several friends that usually end up giving me clones um, at different points of the year. And so I end up with a garden full of clones that were gifted to me from friends that they had extra or couldn't fit them. I have several friends that grow in really tiny spaces, so they don't always have room for everything. They, can't. Nobody can throw them all away. So I usually end up with all the
Right on.
pound puppies.
Well, you're still kind of talking my question. You're being very invasive. you know, I, I,
But
I
um,
get that. You know,
I'll
what
give
flavors
you
are we
I'll give
talking
you an
about?
initial strain list. I am growing blueberry muffin, blue moon rocks, blue dream, gorilla glue number 4. I have one Magilla's choice, which is a one I'm really excited to try. I have a couple of motor breaths. I have a grape soda. I have a citrus farmer, and I'm forgetting somebody. I'll think of it. I'm forgetting one.
She's gonna be mad.
Yep. She's
Uh,
sitting out there.
that motor
Mommy, look
brush
it up.
really loud. Right, right. That's gonna be the one in the corner tonight when you go in there in the morning. You talked about everybody but me.
Yep, exactly.
That motor breath's really loud and a tough. Isn't that a little bit longer to go? I mean, that's not necessarily indica dom, is it? It's a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's a little bit longer. So is that Gorilla Glue. I've grown it a couple of times now, and it goes a little bit longer, but they seem to be firing off already, so I'm not really worried about it. I think it'll be
Yeah, it doesn't seem
right on time.
nice, nice. Is that your opinion on the motor breaths too? Super loud.
Yeah, yeah, they all smell. They're getting to the point now where I just noticed the other day. I'm like, wow, it just smells dreamy in the backyard. So it's just starting to pop off really good. Everybody's starting to just push all kinds of wonderful smells.
Yeah, I can only imagine that's quite the turd profile you have going there. You seem to lean towards the blues. That
Yeah,
you
that just
like the blue
happened.
side.
Not
It just
necessarily.
happened just the way it worked out.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of growing blueberry. I find it difficult in Michigan outside, even in the
I think it's
greenhouse.
difficult.
I found blueberry difficult, even in the greenhouse.
I think it's just all the way around. It can be finicky strain. It's good for sure. It's definitely good, but it can be finicky for sure. I've had a lot of experience with some blue strains, and them are usually the ones that are really finicky and feeding late on, and
Hmm.
wanting to pop that banana if you're overfeeding in later weeks. But they're definitely a good strain. I like the flavors, but so which one would, if you have to put all the patience aside, and you were growing strictly for yourself, what's your dirt profile like? What you said fruity, but no pines, no. Is there like a
Uh,
grapefruit
no,
or?
mine kind of varies because I like the chemi stuff. I like the gassy stuff. I like the really piney stuff. I grew critical Jack H once that was just straight up pine trees, and I loved that plant. It was fantastic.
Hold on. Did you say critical Jack one? Is that what you
Critical
said?
Jack H. Critical Jack H was the actual name on the seed pack.
I'm on this my profile I'm chasing right now.
Look out for that one because it was,
Chasing the pines.
yeah, it was wonderful.
Nice. It's always good to know. It's one of the reasons why I asked too. So you like an original OG Kush? Is that another one you like? That'd probably be really nice outdoor.
Um, I've if I'm growing outdoor, I'll do OGs, but not in the greenhouse. Um, I've never had good luck with just straight up OGs in the greenhouse. They never seem to like them. They do this weird pre-flowery thing where they just toss up all those one leaves for the whole entire veg and like pre-flower. It's horrible. And then it just produces this giant larvae weird plant. So I've had that happen a couple of times with just
Oh,
straight up
that in,
OG.
that in itself kind of fascinates me because I would think, you know, outdoor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be in the sun. In the sun, I wouldn't think there would be that big of a difference in the same strain from just outdoors to taking it in the greenhouse and it being, especially in the same place. You know what I mean? The same locale.
There's a
That
very
blows my
big
mind.
difference in heat between outside and in the greenhouse, though. So, especially in Michigan, where you get those 90-degree spells where it'll go 90 for 2 weeks. And it's like 110 in the greenhouse if you're not careful. So, it's really toasty in there. And those plants, some of them just don't deal with it well. And you'll know right away which strains can handle it and which strains can't. They will start throwing out some weird stuff.
I love Chet, by the way. Did you ever get to bring him up? Be able to bring up the chat?
No, I couldn't get the chat. I couldn't get it to
As
come up.
we talk about it, and then the Major General 420 out. Shout out to you, brother. He's like delicious seeds. So it was a double note there. You threw out the strain. They said where to get it. Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Awesome. That helped a lot. Yeah, I couldn't
So
get the chat.
which one is? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I said I
Holy
definitely
chat.
couldn't get the chat to come up. It just wasn't working for me today.
Bummer. You can always, if you go on to ever go back and watch this, you can always watch chat at that point, see what they were saying.
Yeah.
By the way, So,
If anybody has
which
any
one?
questions, they can hit me up on my feed, and I'm happy to answer anything.
Nice, nice. A lot of knowledge, it seems like, over there. Like, you could help answer a lot of good questions. So, sure. Um, so which one of your experience has been one of your favorites to grow so far?
My my favorite plant, as far as like strain wise went, that I had, I have to say it would have to be a couple years ago. I grew a black cherry punch, and I absolutely love that plant. And I know that's in-house genetics strain that was gifted from one of my friends. Um, and I grew that for just one season, but it was the most lovely smoke, and it was the biggest, most beautiful plant in my greenhouse. It's just turned into this beautiful burgundy, just gorgeous burgundy and mint thing in the middle of my room. And it was the first thing I looked at when I woke up in the morning, and the last thing I saw when I went to sleep. And it was just a gorgeous plant.
Nice. How come she wasn't the keeper? She just slipped through. Just one of the
Um,
ones
I
that have to
don't,
slip
I
through.
don't keep my strains over the winter because I don't have an indoor. So I've never
Ah,
kept any of my strains. I just, every year I get gifted some new things, maybe some of the same things I had from the year before, whatever it is that I happen to pick up. Sometimes I'll pick up a clone here or there at an event. If, I go to something, I might pick up a clone here or there um, from a friend or whatever, and just go from there. So every year my garden is very different. I don't often keep stuff. So I'm really excited about this coming greenhouse because I'll be able to keep stuff and keep my favorites and be able to mess around with actually having a mother room. Yay. So I can pop some of the seeds I'm given that I want to keep and just roll with the strain for a while and get used to it and play around with it a little.
again, I kind of appreciate the method you're going with now. I mean, it's everybody likes to keep them winners when they can, but you get a wide diversity of strains going at it more like you do. You know what I mean? Picking up a lot. I mean, you're more able to pack that strain list, experience list, a hell of a lot quicker with not having to try to keep things around and just
Exactly.
acquiring more random stuff. And each strain's different. You know what I mean? And it can be a challenge. So that's a nice way to keep your skill level up. It's I can appreciate that as well.
I'd
You
like to be
never
able
want to
to
get
go on
bored with what you're doing.
vacation. I like to be able to go on vacation in the summertime once in a while. So if I can, maybe get a situation where, hey, I can take a summer season off once in a while and actually go up north for the whole summer instead of just a couple of days at a time.
Uh, so, man, that sounds like a lot of work come harvest. Did you utilize like a hand dry or a hang dry? You a hang dryer?
Yeah, I hang dry. I do most of it myself. I have two girlfriends that occasionally help me with takedown, um, if it's needed, depending on what I ended up getting out of the garden that year. It varies. And that's another reason why I want to do year round is so I can get more consistent. So I have the same amount every time, or, I'm used to filling up my greenhouse the same way every time. Um, but I've never been in one place long enough to be really consistent.
Well, the it sounds like the way route you're going, you could actually step into a perpetual, like almost.
Hmm.
That'd be pretty very nice. Outdoor perpetual. Ooh, that's nice. I do a perpetual myself, but it'd be even better outdoors. Man. Saving that cash on the electricity and the most brightest bulb you can get does apply. Does sound pretty interesting.
I had a job for a while in one greenhouse where I just planted the and germinated seed for the greenhouse. It was a really large operation. They had 25 greenhouses, and myself and one other girl planted the seed for the entire place. They did get some plugs and stuff for some of the plants. They weren't all seed plants, but as far as all the seed went that was needed for the place, we laid it down. And there was lights in that whole house, so I got really used to running that lighthouse because we didn't want any of the seed trays to flower out. So we had a little bit of veg light on them just to keep them, so everything was just awake all the time.
Man, I can't even imagine being outdoors. I really can't. I've been running like this for so long. It seems I was actually gonna throw my hand out there and put a couple out there this year, and then things happened and I got discouraged. But maybe next year. There's always next year.
I try really hard to keep my plants to a manageable size. So, because outdoor, it's really easy to let them get huge, let them get out of control, let them get crazy. And I am one woman in a greenhouse. So I've always done all of it, all the work, as far as growing them alone. As far as, just getting them all caged up and stuff. Occasionally I might have one other person come help me so I don't break something if I have a particularly unruly plant. But for the most part, I did a lot of that stuff alone. So it was a rarity that I did ask another person to come in and help, or if it was just happened to be lucky and having somebody standing there at the right time.
Yeah, that's got to be. So I guess we're going back to the harvest a little bit. Do you use like buckets and stuff? I mean, that's got to be a decent harvest. So, do you utilize like a 5 gallon bucket? Dry it to a certain point, and then kind of chuck them in the 5 gallon bucket storage method, and then do dry trim as you need, basically. Oh, excuse me.
Basically, when I do take down, because most of the time I might have one other girl help me, and I'll go out and chop everything off the plant, and because I like to kind of do it slowly and take my time. A lot of times I would go through and take all the biggest nuts off the plant, and I would leave all the small ones out there in the greenhouse for another 2 weeks, and then go take all those later. It really just seemed it was almost different smoke, had a different flavor to it, had a different, just everything about it, but it was always nice. I always really enjoyed it. It was always worth leaving on the plant and doing that for 2 weeks. So, and then it also gave me a chance to cut through all the other big buds and stuff like that, and get all the other stuff that is totally ripe off the plants before, Michigan will, mold everything. So it was, always working against time a little bit just to make sure you didn't have any problems with stuff rotting on the plant. Is the cooler the nights got, the more you had to worry about that stuff. So I just tried to make sure that I got everything off the plant that was really huge and nice and ripe already, and leave the little stuff.
Definitely a lot of work. I
Stages.
can only
Yeah.
imagine hustling the outdoor hustle.
But I'll go through and harvest for a whole entire month.
uh, So, do you have any like tips for IPM on the outdoors and the greenhouse type of environment?
The thing I do the most with my plants is I start early in veg, and it's preventative maintenance mostly. For me, at that the greenhouse at my past place, it was surrounded by soybean fields, and spider mites love soy, love it, love it, love it. So I did everything I could to try to keep the spider mites out of the greenhouse. Things like shutting the doors when you mow the lawn, things like that. Just trying to keep everything from blowing into the greenhouse in the first place. But I had several just different oil mixes that I would do and spray around the greenhouse, even just spraying around the perimeter of the greenhouse, spraying around the windows and the doors and the vents and everything, spraying on the floor, spraying where I walk, spraying the pots, spraying the trunks of the trees, even if I'm not spraying the whole entire plant. Um, and there's several oils that I like to use for that, and kind of go crazy. Rosemary, of course, is a favorite. Most of the so-called organic sprays at the store anyways contain rosemary oil. That's one of the spider mite's most hated adversaries.
Is that one of the herbs that you grow there? You mentioned Bruce.
Yeah,
Is that one of the ones there?
yeah, I always had a lot of herbs in the greenhouse. A lot of sage, a lot of rosemary, a lot of lavender. Anything I could find that was lemony always did really well. As far as being like just having all those smells in the greenhouse, I think would keep some of the bugs out of the greenhouse as well. They could smell all that herbage, and they didn't want the greenhouse as much. At that greenhouse, I was fighting every leaf eating everything that was possible. Caterpillars, moths, all that. So if I can confuse them with herbs, it was a lot easier to do that.
These caterpillars were terrible this year. Terrible.
Yeah, they're always terrible. That was one of the things
So
that smoking my greenhouse really helped with the caterpillars, because they would crawl out of the buds and I could pick them off before they crawled back in, as long as I kind of smoked them out a little bit. So that was the best way to get everything if I could.
So how is the process of building a greenhouse there? Uh, how much fun is that?
During COVID, it's such a pain in the butt.
I can only imagine, especially somebody like yourself and that has been in a greenhouse for so long, and this being like a good experience to get what you want in a greenhouse.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty sure you've got a good idea what where you want things already and how she's going to work, and you know, probably already mapped out in your head. It's already a working engine.
Yeah, I already built one greenhouse, so I know exactly what I don't want in this one. This one needs to be
So,
more functional for me than the other one was. That was why I was so willing to give the other one up.
what are some of the don't wants?
Well, the other one that I had wasn't sealed. It's really easy to build a greenhouse that's not sealed, that you can't use, year round, and you can't do anything with, because it's, end up costing you $1,000 to heat the place just for a week. So it's really difficult if you don't seal the greenhouse right. Um, and you definitely want to make sure that you spend a right amount on your flooring, because if you put the wrong flooring in the greenhouse in Michigan, it will just be a mold fest. Michigan is like the
What
one
kind of floor?
state that Usually I try to do like a stone flooring if it's a greenhouse that I'm gonna just have something that I want it to have good drainage. But the greenhouse I have right now has decking, so everything just flows right through anyway. So I'm not worried. It's got airflow underneath the greenhouse. I actually have exhaust fans in the floor to bring air in if I need to.
Seems pretty well thought out, and that's what I'm getting. Was kind of getting to with 20 years of working in a greenhouse and then growing cannabis and yourself in the greenhouse. I can imagine that, like you said, that you know exactly what you want out of this building and how hard is it to get exactly what you want for when you build one? I mean, how hard is it to set up that greenhouse?
Um, especially because I'm actually this time I'm really going for the dream greenhouse as far as what I really wanted. I'm building a greenhouse that's visually beautiful and not just a crappy old greenhouse. I didn't just order a farm tech and I'm trying to put that thing up. I'm building a work of art.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I can't wait till it's completed
There is
and
a
you're
few,
willing
yeah,
to.
there is a few people on Instagram that have seen pictures of what I'm building or what I was going to build, but only a small few are privy to what the heck I'm actually doing right now.
I hope at one point when she's all finished that you can let the rest of us in on at least a quick couple of pics anyway.
Yeah, I most
Uh,
definitely will.
it's
I
got to
just
be
want,
amazing to actually see a dream come to fruition like that. You know what I mean? From start to finish, it's got to be a great feeling all in itself.
I'm really excited about getting this place done and actually being able to share it with everybody. It's really hard not to take pictures of it and share it with everybody right now. I've actually been trying not to take pictures of it. It's really hard. But I've been trying not to take a lot of pictures of it. I've been trying to just take enough to just document my progress. So if I want to share it later, I can. Um, then I can share what I wish to share along the way without sharing too much. I don't want to show everybody how
Sounds
great
like.
I am.
So, is there any room for any other horticulture anymore? I mean, are you still working in another greenhouse, or is what you do full time?
I haven't
Sounds like
been
it's a full
lately.
time job.
Yeah, lately I haven't been working in another greenhouse because doing my garden and trying to work on that other greenhouse is kind of enough of a job for me. Besides the extra stuff that I do myself to make money, so I do sort of have a job. I deliver carpets, so
Oh,
and
I'm just asking.
occasionally, yeah, I occasionally will paint a sign.
Look, I'm all about living happy. That's for sure.
Hmm.
Honestly, I could be working a little bit harder myself, but I found uh, life taught me a few things as I went through life there. I've spent there's many a times where I've worked them 14 hours days to provide bullshit. And it was just bullshit when I come to find out in later in life that it was no supplement for what I should have been home doing. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, Working my ass off to buy a piece of shit toy made no sense in hindsight. I should have just to piss on the toy and been there, and you know what I mean. In the end, I think that was what would have been what was called for, but too blind to see that and trying to think I was doing the best by providing, keeping the up with the Jones mentality and providing the crap, the crap that ended up haunting me later on.
Exactly. But yeah, I basically just trying to get that done. It's become my job, my obsession. And sometimes you end up putting a 12, 16-hour day in the garden. It's it happens. So you never know when it's gonna happen, and you got to spend the whole day deleafing, or you got to spend the whole day scrubbing pots, or you got to spend the whole whatever it is. It's you got to do it when it comes up.
You mentioned my nemesis right there. I love it all. I can put in the 12-hour days. I don't mind the deleting. Whatever's got to be
Right,
done.
but
It
it's hard to
doesn't
do
bother
when
me.
you're doing another job. So I got to the point where
What?
I was able to quit my day job because I had made cannabis my life. It was my job, my life, my everything. So
My nemesis is washing pots, by the way. I enjoy
yeah,
every aspect of the garden except washing pots. I absolutely hate that day. Washing pots and saucers. Ugh. I just, that's the one day I wish I could pay somebody to be like, okay, knock that out. What's it worth to you to wash all those pots? Talk to me.
I
Thank
usually
you.
grow in fiber pots, so I gotta go hit up the laundromat then. So they hate me up there. You're dirty up the
Yeah,
washroom.
use fabric pots.
Yeah, the
Fabric
fabric
pots.
ones. Yep. Go run them through the big washer.
I've actually thought about, because that was one of the thing. That's one of the reasons why right there that I went back to the nursery pots is because I was never happy with the cleanliness of my fabric pots. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Just I was never happy with the way I could wash them. And I tried several different methods of just chasing them around the yard with the fucking pressure washer, with the regular hose. I tried
Right.
soaking them in tubs and just kind of beating them up like that. And eventually I was like, you know what? It's just easier for me to wash nursery pots. But at one point, I actually thought about buying like a washer online, or in $50 washer. Just hook it up in the shed. And just there's my pot washing day. There you go. Just unplug it. $50. There you go. Let her drain. See you next month.
I
But
do have
I
a
never
couple
got
of
to that point.
pots I always use too, but for the most part, I stick to the fabric.
Just better growth, all in all.
Yeah, the terracotta plants are always really unique. They always have a really clean flavor.
I've always wondered about growing cannabis in a terracotta pot. It's something that I've never really seen a lot of,
They
and
love
they're kind of
terracotta.
expensive.
I keep them in terracotta up. Like usually I'll put the first couple pot ups in terracotta, and then I'll go into the fabric pots from there. But it's really hard to
Nice.
find a 30, 40 gallon terracotta pot. They're not, they're not everywhere. Mm.
I can't even imagine wrestling them things around. I mean, a 40
Oh
gallon
yeah,
terracotta pot's got to be
they're put
100 pounds
somewhere. I need
easy.
it.
So, do you re-amend the soil? I heard you say you only use it for a season or two.
I'll
Do
use it
you
for two
throw it
years.
aside?
Yeah. I'll fluff it up with some compost and stuff the second year. But usually it's the way I like it, the first year anyway. So Usually I'll use something that's, you know, just pretty light and fluffy, and I'll add a few things to it that I like in the soil, and just roll with that. I don't get too crazy with amending my soil because for the most part I feed my plants.
Right. I'd like to see that recipe book. I think that's pretty awesome. That's a lot of, that's years and years of knowledge right there stacked up in that notebook, I'm sure.
Definitely, most definitely. A lot of learning between myself and several other people. You know, it's shared
Pretty cool.
knowledge. It's not everything that I just totally made up by myself.
That's keeping it real right there. That's a true steward of the earth, if you ask me. You know what I mean? I've heard that term used a lot with cannabis growers and reusing things around their environment to feed their plants and putting things back into place. I think that's pretty awesome. You know, I
Thank
wish
you.
I could utilize it, or if I was that, book savvy or smart, I wish everybody would. To be honest with you, I I've I've said a lot lately. I'm almost afraid of jumping into the organic method because I usually tend to uh, take everything full tilt. You know what I mean? Once I jump in, I like to go take it to as far as I can take it. So I can imagine once I tip that organic button or plateau there, I can honestly see me just okay. Now I'm growing in dirt. Now I have a worm castings. Now I'm trying to feed what around the house to the worms. I can just see myself it just steamrolling, and maybe that's one of the reasons I'm afraid of it. Is like I'm mentally not afraid. Maybe I'm mentally afraid of that steamroll change of life there.
Well, you get to a point where once you start doing that too, you start foraging everywhere you go. You know, I ended up getting mushroom compost from a mushroom farm that I visited for totally like different reasons. I wasn't there for, you know, getting stuff for my grow, but ended up getting, now I have a hookup with this mushroom farm to go get their compost. And I use it in my teas a lot. Just little stuff like that where you're just driving down the street and you're like, oh, nettles, I need nettles. Boom, you got to stop right then because I had already exhausted all my other avenues and my normal spots.
So, with that being said, do you around your area, do you like sprinkle different shit around the land so you can come back and harvest it for food later on? Are you
I,
sprinkling little
I
seeds and stuff like that
definitely,
around the
yeah,
property?
I definitely do. Um, or I'll just encourage things to seed. If it's something that I want more of, I'll make sure that the seeds get, underneath some soil instead of just letting them fall off the plant, and let them hit the Michigan winter underneath the soil a little bit. So then I know that they'll sprout once it starts raining again. It's my way of ensuring that the patch of whatever it was that I found gets bigger.
Yeah, I can dig it. I can dig it. So is that when you're able to find out some of them great shots when you're out there looking for food if you
Yeah,
plant
that's
food? You know what I mean?
that's exactly what I'm doing too. I'm out there foraging for whatever it was that I wanted. And that's a lot of times when, I started with just my cell phone camera. And then I was recently gifted a Canon Rebel T6. And I've been learning to use that camera and trying to get better with it.
Nice. That's not a bad day. You ask me. That's not a bad day to go out with a knapsack to gather materials, a sack, a sack for yourself, and a camera. That doesn't sound like a bad day at work, right?
Usually more ends up being like 2 Rubbermaids and a laundry basket.
Well, that's a little bit more of a journey. Hopefully, you've got a wagon or something you're pulling.
I just have lots of
Uh,
jars. A lot of times I'll dry stuff and keep it for later. That way I don't have to go out and collect that again. And I can make tea with it several times and not have to go back out, because if I dried it and kept it in a jar, then, it's at least close to the quality that I wanted. Plus, it gives me good practice for harvest.
I can't wait to see that as you get your year-round uh, greenhouse into swing there. What other methods that you take in? You know what I mean? Willow bark cloning methods and stuff like that. Actually, utilizing nature a little bit more uh, in the veg cycle. Just keeping it going and stuff like that. It'd be neat to see how you progress in the complete system.
I'm
For sure.
excited to have a mother room. Can't wait to have a mother room and actually be able to keep some of the stuff that I really, really like. Things that were my favorites from the garden. I would, so many times I've wanted to save my favorites and I'm like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I wish you the best on that. I'm excited to see how it turns out for sure.
Yeah, I get to keep the mothers and keep on going.
So, do you think this is something that it will be full in swing next season?
Um, we'll see. I'll probably take a little bit of a break in between just so I can get through harvest and get that, all squared away and then see what I can come up with. Pop some seeds and go from there. There's
Do
lots
you
of
have
seeds.
seeds already in hand?
Yeah, I have lots of seeds that need to be popped, huge variety. So
So, with that being said, everybody, I know I've got tons and tons of seeds too, and I know they might be buried on the bottom, but they're still on the top. Which ones all the packs are you like, okay, those are first? Which ones are
um,
you sitting on that are like, okay, you're on top?
to be honest with you, I have some vanilla Luna seeds that were gifted to me from somebody on Instagram. And I, I really, really want to pop those because I'd grown that one season that I got ripped and I never got to try the plant. I was so disappointed. I worked so hard on the plant and it was so beautiful. Is such a beauty. The striping on the trunk of the Vanilla Luna is just absolutely gorgeous. They're beautiful, beautiful plants, beautiful flowers. They're just really just eye-pleasing, eye-catching flowers. So I really, really wanted to smoke it and I never got to. So that is one of the ones that I'm really excited to try.
That's a bummer. I hate hearing stories like that. I mean, yeah. Hopefully, we get to a point where it's so plentiful,
I
plentiful
look I
that
look at being ripped in a positive light, though. It's one of those situations that because it happened, I wouldn't change it for the world because I became a better person because that happened to me. I wouldn't, even if I had to go back and if I could change it, I don't think I'd want to because I like the person that I am better now because of that happening to me.
nice, very wise. Very wise. Uh, Not most people would take it that way, to be honest with
I hope that anybody that ever does get ripped should look at it in that perspective, because you have to look at it as, why did I get ripped? Not, why did I get ripped? You know, you have to think about it. You know, what were you doing to, you know, add to yourself? You know, and at the time I wasn't humble. I was very braggarty about my garden and loud in public. So some kid followed me home and took all my plants. You know, I became a lot better person because that happened.
It's a tough lesson. It's a tough lesson. For sure, though. Sad to realize that again. There's some people out there. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. It's always shitty to hear the stories that yes, they're still out there.
Yeah, it happens definitely in Michigan. I always hear many stories every year about people getting ripped. So, but it can be looked at in a positive light too. It's a terrible thing that happens, but everybody learns and becomes better people for it.
You brought up another fact too, is how beautiful flowers this plant can actually produce, and how different they can be from strain to strain. There's some strains that just the flowers on them that are just amazing in color, smell. It's,
Yeah, I've had some
this plant's really
very people.
second to none.
I've had some very unique flowers in my garden. Uh, Once in a while, I'll grow a purple strain, and those always seem to really, really be popular with people. People just love purple flowers. A lot of people hate to smoke purple weed, but they love to look at purple flowers.
They are pretty. They are pretty. For me, they don't work so well. They're really very tasty, but they don't take me to where I need to be. But I find that I've lately, as of late, heard that they work well for people with anxiety. Uh, but again, they're really
The
pretty to
only,
look at, but they're not.
the only
Pardon me.
purple strain I really, really liked for anxiety and stuff like that, I would say, is the Perps. It was a really relaxing strain. Um, but the rest of the purple strains that I've tried have not been great for anxiety. If anything, I would say some of them increase the anxiety.
Really, I wonder if them are like because they're in them strains. There are green and purple phenols. I wonder if there's a difference, if you get a true purple version of it, if it's more not as anxiety causing, or like the greener version is the more anxiety causing. Um, Curious.
I would definitely say yes, because I've had um, some fruit that I had both green and purple, and the green ones were way more just anxiety ridden smoke. You know, it was, and it wasn't just me that felt that way. It was several people that complained the same thing. They're like, I can't smoke that. It's too, ugh." So I was like, oh, okay. How about something else? But several people said that the green, the purple buds were fine, but the green ones were just, that's crazy smoke. Can't smoke that.
So yeah, that leads me back to thinking, yeah, the purples can be a little bit more beneficial. But I've often wondered why. You know, most strains that to me that cause me anxiety, and I find seem to be good for people with anxiety. To be honest
Hmm.
with you, the peppery strains seem to really get me twisted, and I don't like. But the same strain that like Jack Straw's one, like for me. TJ, it was a TJ strain at the time, and that thing was super peppery, and it would be like a half a joint, and I would be pacing. I did not like it, but people that I knew that had terrible anxiety, they were like, "You got that?" And it was funny because the way it treated me, it was like, "Oh yeah, I got you. I got it." Anytime you need it, it's there. Just let me know.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I have strains like that where I'm glad other people like it because I certainly don't. But I don't always get all the strains just for myself either. I will take requests from my people with cards if they have something that they really, really want, and I can get it, then I will.
Uh, you mentioned a little bit there that you do RSO. Is there any way
I
you
do.
can walk us through a good process of that? Everybody's, always looking for a method. Can you walk me through a little bit of your method of making RSO?
I do. Ouch. As far as it's kind of just the most old school way ever. But I really try to go through and filter my stuff properly. So and try to make my RSO as smooth as possible. Um, the, these little old ladies get frustrated over the taste, and if it tastes any particular way at all, has any ashiness to it or anything like that, it's like nope, 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 nope. So I know instantly. So it took me like 4 years to get my method down as far as RSO. And I started just YouTubed it basically, just found the most old school RSO making methods and then just adapted it for myself um, to work better, and found a hot plate that I really love to use as far as evaporating the alcohol out is, and stuff like that, a yay new wave. So many people are like rice cooker only. And it's, for me, this is the only way to go. I get the cleanest, nicest, best RSO out of, a new wave hot plate. And it's the most simple method just done in my kitchen. Um, but I go through batches and batches of it. I have two guys that are shrinking tumors with it. One has a mass in his lungs that's actually been down 40% since he started taking it. Um, he also did a retreat in Mexico during that time too. So it wasn't just my RSO. I won't say that I'm, the only thing attributing to it. He did, do a health, like basically a cleansing retreat, um, which I think is also helping reduce the size of the tumor as well. And then I have another guy that he's got a brain tumor and a tumor in his spine. And he's actually kept his tumors the same size since 2002 with my RSO. And basically, he's just trying to keep them from growing anymore. He doesn't want them to shrink because he's missing so much bone on his spine that if he totally shrinks his tumor all the way, he might not be able to walk. So he's just trying to feather it along as best he can.
I've never really even considered that. That's a possibility. I mean, overdoing it. That
Yeah,
it could be too late. It's already like. Is that that's obviously the thing? Can it get in there too deep to where if it's removed that it's just gonna be tougher?
yeah. His tumor is eating away so much of his spine that if he shrinks the tumor all the way, spine will be exposed and he probably will be paralyzed. So he just tries really hard not to go hard on the sauce. Is as he calls it. He calls it the RSO, the sauce. But he's like, I just try hard not to go too hard at it. I just try to keep a steady amount, but not too aggressive. Because he's like, I could go at it hard.
Do you have a set regimen you suggest to him?
I always tell him 3 times a day. Usually I tell people to build up your tolerance. Most of those 2 guys take pretty large amounts of RSO every day.
What about yourself?
I take RSO periodically, probably not as often as I should, but I take it once in a while more. More like
Actually, if I had it,
more like people take Tylenol.
if I had it around, I think I would utilize it daily. Maybe like rice or green rice, something like that. I utilized it today. I had some meat done, and I did like probably 2 grains of rice on the way to the shop there, and which I do all the time, to be honest with you, and it always works. It always it always works. Helps gets me through that time. And
Yeah, it
I think he
definitely
always
does.
wonders how I can sit so good.
That's it. But yeah, I just more use it for the bad days. I find if I take it all the time, because I have it so readily available at my fingertips, that if I take it all the time, then I become really, really tolerant of it. So, and then I had to take insane amounts of it just to get any relief. So, in order to keep my tolerance on the lower side, I try not to just hit everything hard. I smoke a lot of flower, and I'll always admit to that. But but as far as the
There's
concentrates,
nothing wrong with that.
yeah, as far as the concentrates go, I usually will just use them in a more irregular sense, just more on the really bad days, the really, days where I'm having a lot of pain.
Do you do you prefer some good bubble? I mean, you talk about extracts. You mentioned extracts. Do you consider just the RSO an extract, or do you prefer to? I know I do. I keep some material around, and that's why I don't have RSO. To be honest with you, I wish I would save some occasionally to make some RSO, and usually I do, but it's been a while in both cases. I prefer to keep a nice fat jar of some bubble laying around that I like to sprinkle in almost everything.
I also make EHO shatter every so often, just because I like to have shatter around, and it's hard in Michigan. It's so hard to find shatter that's not that I'm not being lied to about. So it's easier if I just either, have a friend, press it, for me, or I'll make EHO shatter if I can't get in, to have anybody press me anything. And usually it works out pretty good. So I've never had batch turn out really bad for me. So I've always been really, really lucky. I got really good at making it good really fast. And kind of just, got lucky on that situation. Learned that from YouTube as well. But and usually it kind of quells any desires I have to smoke any concentrates. I smoke so infrequently, so I'm a flower smoker.
I appreciate that I smoke from the time I get up to the time I go to bed.
Yeah.
And, it's amazing. I honestly sometimes amaze myself. Like there's nights, well, every night I sit here and do this from mostly 11:30 to that 4:20 mark, and I
Hmm.
achieve the whole time, and then I get off, do my little thing, and then I think, should I smoke one before I go to bed? And then I undoubtedly roll one more and kind of just like sit here and relax and smoke one more big cannon to drift off. And yeah, it's just one of them things that I enjoy doing it. Just I like smoking the whole process of it, rolling it, sitting here. Uh, one of
I
my
do. I
favorite
like
interviews
my food so much more.
kind of justified it a little bit. Uh, I, I've kind of taken more out of this every time I've told the story, by the way. It justifies it a little bit more because I try to tend to lean towards the Zen portion of life. Trying to come across the value of meditating and just taking things in for what they are, and so cannabis helps a lot with that. And
It does.
I was interviewing Hota Herb, and I asked him. He just seemed like the kind of gentleman that meditate. I don't know why, but I asked him, "Do
You
you
meditate
meditate?"
in your garden?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Right here. I put a mat down over there. Yes, but when I asked him that, he said yes. Every time I use cannabis, in fact, I'm meditating in sorts.
Hmm.
So, I'm controlling my breathing and letting my thoughts, fade away and just relax. And so, yeah, every time I use cannabis, I'm meditating. And I thought, I never thought about it like that. But, he's right. So, just jokingly here, that's another reason why I guess I can smoke so heavy is I'm constantly searching out that Zen and slowly meditating through the day before I get to the actual trying to meditate. Uh, but yeah, why
I'm
not?
getting
If I
all
can
the hard
actually
work
say
I
that.
put into it.
Pardon me?
Instead, I'm getting back all the hard work I put into that garden. Every time I smoke, getting back a little bit of all my efforts that I put into it. It's, being absorbed back into my body, all that energy I spent, I get that energy back. So it's so much better when you smoke your own cannabis, and everybody feels that way about their own cannabis. Everybody loves their own cannabis, no matter if it's shit or if it's absolutely fantastic. Everybody loves their own cannabis because they're getting back that little piece that they put out.
I, I agree. And you're the first time I've ever heard of a depression garden. I've never heard it be called that before, and usually that's my happy place. So I've never actually heard of a garden going full tilt from one end to the other. So, with that being said, uh, hopefully, when you got to that harvest, it was a lot better. You talk about smoking the fruits of your labor and what you put into it. Uh, hopefully, hopefully it filtered out a lot better than the depression that went into it. Hopefully, when it was on the flower side, it was a lot heavier or happier.
Yeah, most definitely. It's one of those things where, if that's why so many people, you can see like people are like, oh, I kill plants. Well, and a lot of times, 9 out of 10 times, that person is a sour son of a bitch. and they walk into their garden all mad and angry, and they're in there slamming stuff around, and they're not gentle with their plants and careful and kind and just, you know, nurturing towards those plants. They're rough with them. They're, you know, they're just going through the motions.
So I can't help but wonder, again, jokingly, if you will, uh, was that flower like couch lock? Was that round a couch lock effect? You know, because you would say you're putting in the
Definitely.
energy, you're getting the energy.
It definitely was. It definitely was. Um, you know, I was going through some serious stuff in my life that season, and I just couldn't shake it. And I was sleeping out there all the time because that's what I always did. And it definitely rubbed off on my plants that season. It no matter what I did, they were still just like whatever. And I did the same thing that I would do every other year. It's not like I changed my methods or, had, you know, wasn't a, no tragedies happened. It was my attitude and my, you know, quickness to get on things in the garden and, even just little things like spraying my plants down in the morning, things like that I was depressed. I didn't do it. And it made a difference. That little bit of love wasn't shown and they didn't show it back to me.
I can believe it. I can believe it. I honestly can. I've in this cannabis journey, and like I said, I'm interested in. I love Audible anymore. I've kind of abandoned some YouTube and just went to Audible because I like anymore the single source. You know, hearing it from beginning to end, one person.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. And so I ventured off in a lot of gardening books, and I can't believe how many of them actually talk about human interaction and how they can sense. And there's actually like, and they talk about in the it's actually been talked about a lot in the cannabis community lately. Is that secret life of plants? How they
Mm-hmm.
can actually they measure. You know, it's measurable. Uh, how they interact with us and our feelings. You know what I mean? It's an actual measurable thing.
Oh, they most definitely do. I read a study once where they hooked up a couple of different rooms full of plants um, to brainwave monitors. And just regular house plants, nothing, nothing special, just something you can buy anywhere, Walmart, whatever. And they hooked up all these plants. One was a control room, you know, nothing happened. People just walked in and out of the room. One room, girl would walk in and just rip the crap out of the plants in the room and leave one plant standing. Ripped up everything else in the room. And so they put this plant in the room with the other plants in the control room where nothing ever got ripped up. And then the girl walked into that room and that particular plant would go absolutely nuts while the rest of the plants just stood still. Like it expected her to rip them up.
So every time like she came into the room, it kind of shuddered while the rest of the plants were like, "She's here."
Mm-hmm. And they would have no reaction on the brainwave monitor. But that particular plant that had been in the other room where she was ripping stuff up all the time would, register, you know, like it would if she was ripping stuff up, even though she wasn't ripping anything up. She just walked in the room.
I wonder. I can't
I
help
don't
but
know.
wonder. with all that being said, if the plant
They know
can
what you
relate
mean.
to us, yeah, basically that's kind of what I'm getting to. If they can kind of read us and pick up on our frequency and match it, because like, and even in that book, The Secret Life of Plants, there a lot of the experiments that they did from a distance. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like even the negative thoughts from a distance were still impacting the plant as if they were standing in the room, giving the plant the negative thoughts. So I wonder if that's something there that once you've developed a relationship with the plant and it's had a time to assess you and properly read your frequency, I wonder if that's something that is a relationship that you built with that plant for life, no matter where you are. I wonder if that is could be such a thing.
I think they definitely know.
I mean,
Especially if it's a plant you come back to.
that'd be just a crazy thing to if they could scientifically prove something like that, to where, say, like somebody like yourself, you've spent all this time in your greenhouse, and you traveled away per se, and heaven forbid something happened. I wonder if that day, you know what I mean? And there would be almost no way, because we couldn't predict when something were to happen. But unless they were constantly monitored, you know what I mean? And even at that, would be weird. But I wonder, like, say if something happened, car accident or something like that, if your plants at home could pick up on that and droop. You know what I mean? Actually, oh no, something,
They always look
pick
different
up.
if somebody else waters them. I know that because it's so rarely that I ever have somebody else water my plants. It's like only extreme emergencies. So, um, and they always look different when somebody else did, even if they did it, perfectly to the T, exactly how I wanted, but it's still somebody else. It's not me.
I wonder, have you ever tried to explain to them before that I'm sorry, but I can't be here to take care of you. That somebody else will be here, but you will be
I
taken care
should.
of.
I should try and prep them.
You never know; they may respond a little better.
Yeah, it might help. I never thought about it.
You ever do that when you're like pruning or pruning them at all? I'm
Yes,
sorry, but
parents prep
this
their kids
needs to
that
be
way.
done.
So. No, I'm usually pretty quiet and I just try to have happy thoughts when I'm doing it.
Right. Well, I guess that's kind of what I'm saying there, because like we're talking about, if they can read us from a distance, obviously, as we're handling them, they can pick up what we're thinking. So,
Hmm.
you're obviously thinking that a little bit as you're working with them a little bit.
Yeah, I tried to
Sorry,
just,
but
yeah, I just try to put off a positive, vibe to them. Like, this is gonna be good for you. You're gonna look so good.
it sounds corny, but I think all these things help. That last trim up I did, not in this
It
tent,
does.
excuse me, the LED tent behind that one. Uh,
I mean,
I really,
all those little
it was weird
opportunities.
because I was listening to the Secret Life of Plants prior to that morning. Maybe it was a little planning there already, but I did the whole trimming like that. I approached one and I felt like she almost told me what was needing to be clipped. You know what I mean? As I spun them
Mhm.
and looked at them, it was like, yeah, this one, please, please, this one's got to go. Take this. And it was all said and done. They all looked to be pretty happy, and I was pretty happy. I didn't really put much thought into it. I just let the plant tell me.
Yeah. I tend to go pretty natural with my plants. I don't have, a little army regimen that I do to every single plant. Some people do. It's just however that plant ends up. I'll work with it however it goes.
I got some apologizing to this girl behind me there. She is not going to be happy with what's going to happen to her later.
The tall
She's
girl.
actually, yeah, she was over here, and there's a bay. Let me see if I can push it back that way. Yeah. Wait, am I going the wrong way? Okay, yeah, that's all right. Over here, there's the light where you can see it's kind of dim, and there's an empty spot there. That light's out, and so I'm gonna kind of manipulate some stuff. And she got a little bit tall. She stretched because she was missing some light for a few days
Yeah,
there, and which kind of worked out because I had a male or a Hermie. I think she was more leaning towards a Hermie that got by because she showed at the same time male and female parts at the same time that another one was flowering, where a male should have been a little bit, ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I call it, a Hermie, because it was more simultaneous and it showed more of both parts. Anyway, I talked about that on the show. But now I got an open spot here, so it kind of worked out. This girl's so tall, I'm just gonna actually open her up. I'm gonna just kind of put some bamboos on them.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make her fit a 4x4 tonight at some point. I'm gonna just go lightly around the edges of that pot, and I'm gonna just open that thing up and put her back in this open space over here and let her finish flower. And she's about 2 weeks into flower right now, so she's not gonna be too happy. She's gonna be stunted for a day or two, but
Yeah, she
I
stressed a
think
tiny bit.
Pardon me?
I said she'll stress a tiny bit, but you're catching it early.
Yeah, that's what I think. I'm not necessarily. She's not on the schedule. You know what I mean? So if she's done it a few days, it's whatever. She takes a couple more days to get done, but I think that's going to be the best answer for the situation. But she's not going to be happy. She's going to be about it. I already kind of was like before the show because I had to get back in there. I actually had to get back in the chamber where the lights out is the access panel to all the fucking ballast and everything. So I had to get back there to play with that ballast and then plug this 10 into the 220. So it kind of worked. I had to take her out. But when I did, I was like brushing her down to see how far I was actually going to be able to manipulate her down. And she's going to be about half his size. She looks like she's still really limber. You know what I mean? She's going to bend quite easily.
That's what I was thinking by looking at it.
I think that I think she's actually going to fill a 4x4. At the time I get her out to here, that's 2 feet right there. So I'm gonna actually throw that in under 1,000 watt and just spread her out and see what she'll do by herself under that Dowie.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do in the greenhouse. That's when I'm doing it in the greenhouse, I'll try to keep my plants low that way so I can reach them and I don't have to be on a ladder. Then I can reach everything, and so all my plants are low and spread out. Then they only end up about as tall as I am by the end of the flower.
It'd be so hard to not go with the bigger girls indoors like that in a greenhouse. For me, anyway, because, well, again, I've never done it. I'm just thinking in my head. But with the, in the greenhouse, you don't have the wind. You know what I mean? So you could let them go up a little bit without the.
I definitely had wind. what
You
wind didn't
definitely
reach
have
in
wind.
there. Yeah, what wind didn't reach. I had extremely windy property, and what wind didn't reach in there, I made up for with fans.
Yeah, it'd be a different beast. And that's another great thing about this plant that, at least on my end of it, I still have room to mature yet. You know what I mean? Even if I get bored with this plateau of growing indoors, I still have unturned avenues yet to play with. Stepping
Yeah,
outdoors, and then I guess if I ever got bored with that, what you're telling me is I still have another avenue to explore with the greenhouse yet. You know what I mean? There's
greenhouse does
still
great.
much to be tweaked and learned there.
Greenhouse does great in Michigan.
So, without that being said, which which uh which flower do you prefer? The straight out outdoors, the greenhouse, or a full like indoor
I
grow
prefer
like
the
this?
greenhouse.
Which
I prefer the
yeah,
greenhouse because you get the benefits of the full sun. You know, it's no different than as far as the potency of anything grown outside, but you have the protection of having it inside the greenhouse. It's not beat up by the wind. No trichomes are being knocked off as long as you didn't brush up against the plant. It's, relatively untouched as long as you kept all the air moving in the room nice. Dead air is your worst enemy there. You kept all the air moving, you're going to have nice, beautiful nugs. And, it's, it, it is less dusty than outdoor, things like that I encounter with the outdoor, because I'll wash my buds because outdoor just gets dusty. You get bugs in it. You get stuff like that. You wash your nugs. I'm not rough with it, but I do give them a brief rinse right when I chop.
that that interests me as well. So, do you notice any kind of flavor difference when you give them a quick rinse like that? And what do you use when you give them a quick rinse? If you don't mind spreading a little bit of knowledge,
Just water.
just water.
Yep, usually just water. I don't go too crazy. Some people do lemon juice and all kinds of crazy stuff. I just do water. I don't go no go nuts. I just want to rinse them off, so I can get some of the dust off. And that usually achieves it. And if there's any bugs in there, they usually come out in the water.
That's funny. I've asked that question 2 for 2, and that's the exact answer I've got. 2 for 2. Just water. Put
Yep,
nothing else
just
in
water.
there. Good with that.
Yeah. I know some people will use lemon juice and all kinds of crazy stuff, and I've never done that.
So do you notice any kind of drying difference? When you have to give them a little rinse like that, I don't see. I've done it a few times, and I know other people that give it a little wash, and they say it's coming out just as fast as you rinse it. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really it repels, so it doesn't soak into the buds like a lot of people are afraid of, that it's actually going to saturate it and it's going to be soaked while it's hanging there. That's almost
Yeah.
never the case.
If their buds are soaked while they're hanging there, I think their problems aren't because they wash their nugs.
True that. True that. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
But as far as I I never had a problem with anything like that. But mostly too because I always heated my house with a wood stove. And I had one room that was specifically for drying. It wasn't a room that was used for anything else. It was empty the rest of the year, but I used it for drying every year. And it, just was I could easily close that room off from the rest of the house. It was like a big dry walk-in cooler and just seemed to be perfect way to dry my weed every year. So it was really, really nice to gentle to my cannabis.
Man, I'm not sure how to judge that, to be honest with you. I harvest once a year. I mean, because in my system, I'm actually a perpetual. It's like every month. I only
Hmm.
get like 1 or 2 weeks off, if that. If I get 2 weeks away from transplanting, you know, transplanting, taking down, trimming, all that good shit, I'd be nice. So I can't. I'm not. I'm trying to figure out if the once a year would be a blessing or just a a curse at that end of the year. Do you pay for it at the all at once?
It's it's weird, but it's nice at the same time because I harvest and all my patients kind of come together, bring me all their jars and everything that that we had shared over the course of before, and I refill everybody's stuff. Some patients I see just that once a year, some patients I see a little more often. Depends on can what they can keep at their place. I have a humidor cabinet, so if they couldn't keep stuff, I would just keep things because it kept nice in my cabinet. So it was no problem then. But
It's nice. Please tell me you keep the old lady, the old gal, short, so just so you can go visit her more often.
she doesn't like to keep a lot at her house, so she just takes her 2.5 ounces, and that's all she ever takes.
Nice, nice. Like I said, if anything, it's just a good excuse to head over there to hear them stories.
She's so
It
sweet.
sounds like a pretty good day.
Yeah, she's so sweet. It's like you know trading stories and cannabis with grandma.
It would be really cool. I think it's great that people of that age are open to it. You know,
Her family is very open to it though. Her uh granddaughter's husband is actually a grower, but he doesn't ever have CBD strains. He tends to specialize in one thing, and that's what he runs in his whole place. And it's often not what she wants. She likes, a lower THC, higher CBD. She likes kind of a mix. So usually I end up almost always popping seeds of something from her, for her that I had to either get from, somewhere or, I drummed up from wherever I had in my vault and just pop something for her. But she likes something that's lower THC. If I give her anything above like 8%, she's like, I'm so high. So I try to just keep her on the lower percentage. But she'll take something that's, 17 to 20% CBD. She'll, rock that all day. So if I can find something with a high CBD, low THC ratio, she's all about it. I had one strain called the Cure. It was from a Michigan breeder that was 17% CBD, 9% THC, and she took that for as many years as I could keep it. I was able to keep it for 2 years, and then after that, I lost the strain. But if I could ever get my hands on that one again, I most definitely would.
I have to keep my ears out for that one. I've never heard of it, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. I'm bound to bump into somebody throughout this journey that may have a cut of it that I can hook you up with. That's for sure.
when I had originally got the seeds, I got it from a dispensary in Ann Arbor. And I just happened to come across it, and they had seeds for like $20. And I'm like, oh, sure, I'll try it for $20. And it ended up being a favorite of many of my people.
That's the one beauty of popping them seeds is finding them winners.
Hmm.
I love popping seeds. Yeah, I love to just flip them as much. I do keep some others, and I'll keep them for like a year, and then I try to pass out cuts, and then I try to move on. But I just every time I think I found that one that I love, I go ahead and pie up something else, and then there you go again.
Hmm.
There you go.
I would just
I
like
was
to
so
be able to
attached to
have the
that.
option to change it up.
Yeah, that is very nice too. Very
You know, I can keep a mother for a while and then switch it when I don't want her anymore. So just be nice to have that option to take breaks between grows and things like that, that you don't get that freedom when you grow once a year. You have to grow it. You have to grow it during this time, and you have to grow it now. I can't go up north and watch the fall colors. Things like that, you know, they're nice here, but they're better up there.
To be honest with you, I haven't been much further than what I am right now. I've never been up over the bridge. Well, I've been up towards Alpena during the fall, but I think that's about as far north as I've ever been. Uh, I've never been in the UP or nothing like that. And I don't know if I could do it, to be honest with you, coming up this far in the long winters that we have up here, or I have where I'm at. And I know that just 10, 15 miles north of here, it's a whole new snow belt. I can't
Absolutely.
imagine going any much further north.
Most definitely, yeah. I've been up there taking pictures a little bit this past winter, and there were some days where it was like 8, 9 hour drive home because it was so terrible all the way, through the UP. It took me, twice as long across the UP as it did once I got down into Lower Peninsula.
Probably worth it. Probably worth it. How was that drive over the bridge during the winter there? I mean, if it's snowing that hard, it had to be a white knuckle right across the bridge, eh?
It actually wasn't bad. The bridge doesn't bother me. I
Not,
don't have a problem with the bridge. Sometimes it's the other
never
roads
been.
that yeah, sometimes it's the other roads that I know are way more dangerous.
Yeah, it gets a little crazy up there on the way out. I hit the street signs on the way up. Yeah, again, I haven't been much further north than what I've told you, but I think it's funny that it's not funny. I don't even know why I said that. As you travel further north, the highway signs are like very discouraging. They're like, so many deaths happen a year. Do not drive at night. We have a high ratio of deaths at night. Snow day, watch out, white hazards. It's like, why do you even have a road through here?
Yeah, they do. They do have some crazy signs, but some of the road is like right up, out, right up to the lake. At this point, especially now, the lakes are awful close to the road in some places, so it's where they have to close it because the lake is splashing up on the road.
Keep cool drive. Keep cool drive. Sounds like you've done a lot of traveling here in Michigan for sure. You've logged in some travel hours.
I like to kayak, so I go different places and paddle my boat. And I have some friends that live up north, so I go visit when I can.
So it was nice to see you're a fellow caregiver here in Michigan. That did you see the thing that was going around about the HR bill 6022 there that they were
Yeah.
trying to limit our
Yeah.
caregivers?
Yeah.
Man, I was so proud of the community. You know, at some point, I I think that when we talk, I hear the stereotype of a lazy stoner. Sometimes I think it almost only applies to activism. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
lot of times we'll show up in the polls to get it legal, but sometimes they sneak in some of this other shit on us just because
Yep.
we let our guard down. We got it legal and then we celebrate and just kind of forgot about the rest of it. But not this
Yeah.
time. Not this time. Boy, they tried to jerk that shit out right from under us. And we kicked ass, man. We actually, man, called in record numbers that cat and told him we were not putting up with it, and he backed right down, pulled that black bill right back. I was proud of the Michigan cannabis community for showing up and quickly putting that to
Mhm.
bed.
Me too. That definitely is, because it was like later that evening that people were talking about, having reports of them just not even bothering to, mess with it anymore. So it was like good. It was by the end of the day that I was hearing people saying that. And then there was the post from uh, several lawyers that, had gotten calls regarding the
They called
subject.
everybody back. I hate to be that dude. I hate to be
Oh,
that dude because the next day I didn't hear it that day, but the next day I got a call from his office and they left me a message saying that we're responding to your call and we just wanted to let you know that he is not, repeat, not going forth with this bill.
I
Thank you
probably have
for
a
your
message and I
time.
never see my messages.
Yeah,
I know there was
I
a
kept it.
Michigan. That's probably what
I
that
played
is.
it
I'll have to
last
go and listen.
I played it last night on the air. I was like, hats off to you guys. Here, listen to this. And
Awesome.
it's I,
I'll have to go in and listen to it then because I'm pretty sure I probably have a message in my voicemail.
I love to hear it. It was like, yes. It's nice to, know that it actually counted. You know what I mean? We all wonder sometimes if, what we're doing is unjust. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it definitely counted in this instance for sure.
It was good.
So
Very.
how have you enjoyed the episode so far?
Oh, good. I always enjoy talking to everybody. So
Nice. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. I know I've had fun. It's been
I wish I could see the
nice.
comments and stuff to be able to answer people if they had questions, but I'll go in and try to answer later.
Always good group of people here. I mean, there's still 55 watching right now. 2:20 in the morning, still hanging out, chatting. You can
Wow,
believe that.
I'm surprised. I'm always baffled anyways by the amount of people that want to watch me grow in my garden. The fact that I have like 5,000 followers just totally baffles me.
I don't understand why, to be honest with you. For one, you have a page that has, even cannabis aside, just great, nature pictures for one. And then, everybody's interested in cannabis, and we've all pretty much figured out that good tips come from anywhere. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's better to get a few into your fold and see what they're doing and kind of take notes and apply them to you as they need be, and recognize when people are doing great things. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't looking down your page, it doesn't surprise me at all that so many people are interested in what you're doing, because you're doing a good job, both in the
Thank
nature
you.
pics and your garden. It shows.
Yeah, I
It
appreciate it
shows.
very much. I appreciate that. I that was when I started my Instagram to begin with. Was, I was looking for kind of for help. I wanted to learn more, and I noticed that Instagram had a really large cannabis community, and a lot of people put grow tips on their pages, stuff like that. And there was a lot more people with greenhouses and big greenhouses that I could bounce ideas off of, and just sit back and watch what they were doing. I take little tiny bits from all kinds of people on Instagram, and they might not even know that they helped me, because I just sat back and watched what they were doing and might have picked something up from their page that I use in my grow. I
One
definitely
of my
will admit
favorite
to ripping my support systems off from somebody else.
one of my favorite quotes from an interview was Twisted Roots, as he was talking about picking up inspiration, like we're talking about, from other growers and stuff. And I can't remember exactly who he said, but he was talking about another grower that he respected, and followed on Instagram and YouTube. And he says, yeah, me and me and him have a grow off every year. And he kind of goes off, and he's like talking about it for a minute. And he says at one point, he doesn't know about it though. It's just me kind of competing with what he. And I thought that it just cracked me the fuck up. And it's
That's
funny.
awesome.
It was funny though. He don't know about it though. I'm kicking
That's
his
awesome.
ass.
I actually use my Instagram a lot for myself, because I'll look at my feed from like the year before and see where I was at the year before on this same day, things like that. Sometimes that stuff really helps me. Where were my plants at in August last year? Where were my plants at in July last year? I can kind of bounce back, and it gives me a good kind of, a little bit of a plant journal. And if sometimes I'll go down later in the comments, like after people aren't commenting on it anymore, I will go in and leave notes for myself on my Instagram pictures here and there. Um, if there's something that I needed to remember about that day, or something that worked that time that I needed to, that I knew I would forget, because, I smoke cannabis, and, it was one of those situations where I just knew I needed to remember, even if it's just a recipe from, for an oil spray or something like that, at least I have it written down someplace.
I'm guilty of that, but I'm not to that extent. I don't go back and put notes there, but I do. Uh, I did a seed drop today. Click post. That's in case I forget to write it down in my book. I could go back and, okay, what day? All right, I got it, and put it back
Mhm.
in my book there. I do that a lot. Just for record's sake, I'm guilty of that. It does serve as a good journal, and it's nice to see what other people have to think too about what you're doing at that stage, because they might throw out something that, like you said, you're leaving tips for yourself later on, but
Mhm.
you might pick up a tip in the comments too that they never. Perspective's everything. You can be locked in your bubble and be frustrated about a problem for the longest time, and then that one person comes up and it's like, it's that. It's that.
Yeah.
And you go,
It's like eye opener all of a sudden.
yeah, I'd never seen it. I never fucking seen it. Thank you. Yeah. So it helps in that aspect too, to Get a little bit of outside perspective sometimes.
Yeah, Instagram is a good tool for just connecting with other gardens that you normally wouldn't connect with.
How you hanging in there? 224. What's your normal day like?
Oh, usually I'm kind of early to sleep type person, early to rise, but I've been driving a lot the last couple of days, so it's been kind of strange, and I'm full of caffeine.
Nice, nice. Well, hopefully, part of the dread hasn't been agreeing to come on for sure.
So,
Hopefully, it's
no,
been.
not at all. No, I have family members in the hospital, so I've been going back and forth with that.
So, how long have you been making your own soil? For longest time?
Um, no, not really that long. It's only been the last couple of years where I've been actually adding some stuff to my soil. Usually I'll get, something simple and just add what I want to it, but um, because something fluffy like um, it's I want to compare it to Pro Mix. It's not Pro Mix because it's from the, it's cube stuff from the farm place. I live way out here in the country, but it's nice to go to the farm place and get my, soil and stuff there. And it's the light, fluffy stuff that I would call it equivalent to Pro Mix, but they just call it Farm Mix. And usually I just go there and get what I need, go get some compost because they have nice organic compost there. So don't ever write off your farm and feed stores. It is the place to shop for your grow.
I can see that
Best place
actually.
for
Source.
best place for fans ever.
I never thought about fans there, but I do source my molasses from Tractor Trailer Supply. It's a great place to buy molasses for $7 a gallon versus $5 a little jar at the grocery store. Whatever, even 20 at your local grocery store.
Yeah.
So,
In the greenhouse, you go through fans like crazy. They break easy. So buy fans at the farm and feed store. You can buy like a replacement plan, and it costs you a few extra dollars at the register for the replacement plan. Kind of just like you're buying a replacement plan at, if you're buying electronics from, one of the bigger, box stores and stuff, they offer those plans at the register. So if your fan breaks within 2 years, they send you a gift card so you can get a new fan. You just send them back the old broken one. So you got to keep your receipt, got to keep the box. But every 2 years, I get new fans.
so, have you ever thought about switching over into a more living soil system?
Um, yeah, but I need to have a more permanent situation. So that's why I would like to explore in that direction. And that's part of the reason why I'm moving the direction I am moving, because I do want to kind of dwell on that route a little more than I do. Because right now I just have to be, one and done, get everything finished, get everything out of the soil, let it sit and rest for the winter. Either use it again the next year or not. But it's usually pretty destroyed by the plants by the next year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about you. I hope that at some point that when you do get her fired up and running again, that you come on and at least tell us about the dream come true. That's for sure. I'm anxious to. I love people actually, you know, putting into fruition what the goals they set out. You know what I mean? When they want something bad enough, and they're able to see it through to the end. I love hearing the other end of that. And, I can't wait to see when, or hear about, not necessarily see, but to hear uh, about when it's up and running, and find how well he fine tuned to see if it actually came through. She's that machine that you've seen beforehand. If it runs as well as you thought it did,
I sure hope so.
before.
Putting a lot of effort into it, so it'll be cool. I'm
It
really
sounds like
excited.
it sounds like you have a lot of experience that you put into it for sure. I mean, I would think that just before you started growing cannabis, the other greenhouse experience, all that applies. So I'm sure you've taken a lot of notes over the years on things you wouldn't do. I'm expecting this to be a home run for it.
Yeah, I've been in the greenhouse a long time, so it should be really nice to actually have the greenhouse that I want for a change. So be able to have the space exactly the way I need it to be. I built the last greenhouse I had, and it was more of just a situation of, hey, I know I'm only going to grow in the summertime. But then after I got in there, I had left it with so many open air spaces because the greenhouse got very warm. So I had a lot of open air spaces in the greenhouse just to keep it cool. But unfortunately, I couldn't seal it for the wintertime. So it became almost a hindrance because I couldn't grow with that greenhouse. So this greenhouse, I know I can grow with it and learn more and be able to do, more different kinds of grows and actually be able to, you know, just further my knowledge even more than what I got going on and fuel my curiosities in the directions I want to go.
What's your favorite besides cannabis? What's your next favorite thing to grow?
I would say succulents.
Very easy to propagate plant, and
Hmm.
very many designs. I like the geometric shapes that you can get out of a lot of succulents. Uh, Colors. I can't believe uh, how much spectrum will sway a succulent from you know just straight up green to bringing out pinks and purples
Hmm.
out of the same variety. It's amazing to see what a little bit of extra pink or reds can do for them things. They're definitely a fun beast for sure.
Yep, I would definitely say that's the next to cannabis. I always keep a lot of succulents in my cannabis garden just because they look nice. Um, Usually I have a lot of rocks in there and a lot of other plants. So
So are they an addiction as well? I mean, there's
yeah.
so many varieties, so many varieties of succulents there. Um, I didn't know that a lot of them flowered. I didn't know cactus flowered until uh, late. That's a pretty neat
Hmm.
thing to see them things flower. It's a whole different
Yeah, some of them are
experience.
really unique. I first got
I
introduced
actually
to the
thought,
cactus and succulent room in college. I ended up being assigned to that room in the greenhouse in college and ended up having to care for all the cactus and succulents in that room while I was there. So it kind of got my teeth, were, worn first there and growing.
Nice. What's the oldest succulent you have? 'Cause that's an easy one you can carry around for year to year, from grow to grow. Do
Actually,
you have one that's
the oldest one that I have is one that I had propagated when I was in college out of that room.
pretty cool?
I have several plants
That's one.
that I have from that greenhouse still though.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. Is it the same plant, or is it just one that's been propagated, throughout the years?
No, it's the same plant. I also have a really ancient spider plant that came from there.
Yeah, that's when you say ancient, well, is it just a variety or just ancient because
No, it's
you
just
had it
an old
forever?
plant. It's just a really old plant.
Do you have a favorite type of succulent?
What did you say?
Do you have a favorite type of succulent?
I like anything in the crassula bunch, like any of the jades. I just always like the shape of those. You can kind of bonsai them up, and I kind of like the bonsai style. I do kind of use a lot of bonsai techniques in my cannabis garden on my plants and stuff too, as far as when I'm training them and trimming too. Um, but I like to be able to do that with my succulents too. And jade plants make that really easy. And there's a lot of different ones that all come out of that same family.
They're a little more hardier, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And they put up well with the abuse that we get with the dry Michigan winters. Not all
You a
plants
fan
make
of the
it.
maybe some of the more dainty ones, string of the pearls, the string of dolphins, and all of that? You brush by them things and you practically lost half.
Yeah,
They're
I
not a
kill I
very
kill string
durable
pearls
plant.
every
They're
year.
nice to look at.
I'll be honest in saying I kill a string of pearls every year because I want to grow that plant so badly, and it just doesn't grow in my wood stove having house. They do not like wood heat.
Some of them are very finicky, and some of them can take a lot of abuse for sure.
Yep,
Air plants?
those can't take
No air
it.
plants?
No, we can't take it. I have a few orchids, but those are the only ones that even kind of make it.
It's not. Do you have a vegetable garden? You like to grow vegetables as well? Obviously,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, definitely.
Sounds like a pretty nice place. Is it all in one?
Yeah.
So I could see a good day being wandering around, between working the vegetable garden, working the cannabis garden, and just hunting for what you need to feed. Uh,
Hmm.
just being a cool day wandering around the property. To be honest with you, no need to leave.
Yeah, there's a nice woods and trail here. I don't even have to go for a walk. I want to go for a walk in the woods. I don't need to go to a park.
Nice.
I'm always disappointed by walking because there's so many people there anyways. Like, oh, it's not like home. There's so many people.
So, as well traveled here in Michigan as you seem to be, is there, where's the favorite location?
Um, to be honest with you, I don't have a favorite location. There's a lot of places that I go, just because I have like at different times of the year where I go different places, I guess. I will spend time, like the lake that I take pictures at, which I'm not sharing my location here because it's already crowded enough. So, but the lake that I go and take pictures at a lot, that place is only open for a couple of months. So you have a limited window that you can get in there and enjoy the place anyways. So try not to make it more crowded.
I can understand that. I can understand that.
But
I was just curious on all the pictures. It just seems like there'd be one spot out of all those shots that you may have thought was a little bit more majestic than others.
I'm always a fan of the UP. I enjoy staying up there and really like taking the winter pictures up there and stuff like that. It's just beautiful. Um, it's one of those places that you feel at home even when you're by yourself. So it's nice. Uh, but as far as like down here, closer to home, um, I go to Port Austin a lot and do the turnip rock paddle. I have tons and tons and tons of turnip rock pictures that I've never even posted. Uh, so it's just kind of what's close and what's an easy paddle. And even paddle at little local lakes and ponds if I can get into them, if I get permission from the owners or somebody gives me lake access, then I jump on it.
Uh, so, what has been your favorite cannabis flower or your prettiest cannabis flower you've grown? Not effects of not effects in the side, put it effects in its quality, its strength aside. What's been the prettiest flower you've grown?
That's a hard decision because there's so many that have been so pretty. Some of the purple strains that I've grown are so, so pretty. But so is the slurricane. Slurricane was really, really beautiful. Dark, dark, dark burgundy leaves. Just absolutely gorgeous when that plant finished. It was just it was the first thing I saw when I walked in the door, and it was just absolutely stunning when you walked in. The leaves were so dark on that plant.
It always interests me in how they can vary so much from bud structure to color to how much the hairs of the buds can differ from orange to dark red, from strain to strain. There's quite a nice combination there of flower, and it always amazes me how different each strain can be.
They definitely are really unique. I know usually in the beginning I'll label them, but after a little while I kind of learn which plant is which. They look different. I learn why they look different real quick. It's almost like, a mom knowing her twins apart, even when they're not labeled. Most people are like,
I
how do
can
you know
relate to
what's
that.
what? I just know.
So I can honestly see with you being saying that I know I feel a lot different about the plants that I've raised from seed versus clones that have came in. For some reason, I like them plants, but I'm more partial to the ones I grew from seed and picked out and hunted. Uh, I just always have a little bit more love for them ones because I hunted them out and cleaned them down to that one.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm looking more to forward to growing more from seed. I haven't the last couple of years because I've been um like this past year, right after I moved out of the greenhouse I was in before. I just did strictly, I was like, I'm just going to do strictly outdoor this year and not even worry about trying to fling up a greenhouse because I had ended up moving in the summertime. But the deal I got was phenomenal. I had to take it when I took it. I had, please take my house. So I had to take it. And so I got out of there and so I was hoping to get it done this year for flower, but with the COVID situation before, I was having some difficulties getting supplies here and things like that as far as having them delivered. So during the COVID situation and when things were more locked down, I, I kind of gave up for a little bit. So now the ball has started rolling again because it's not so locked down. So hopefully I'll be able to finish soon, and I'm just gearing up to have another season after, when I'm ready after harvest.
So, even if you're in the environment that you are in now, what would be some of the things if you were to continue in your past grow that you would tweak out and change at the moment before you can get to the new setup? What have, what have you learned in the past grow?
Um, to be honest with you, they teach you everything every year. It's so hard to just pin one little thing or any little thing, because it's all about, staying on top of things better than you did the year before. Make sure oh, last year maybe I should have, put my cages on a little sooner because, the first time being back outdoor after being in the greenhouse, they woody up a little faster. I forgot that. It had been a while since I outdoored. So, this year I was a lot more on top of that stuff. And, so this time they're actually growing with purpose a little bit better. So I should be able to at least increase my chances a little better than I did last year.
What would be some of the frustrations that you've come across actually trying to grow indoors, coming all the way into a room?
Well,
What's the headache
especially
there?
especially in Michigan, the humidity here is such a bitch. So, it's hard to keep the humidity down, and when you're doing greenhouse, it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You have to be good at outdoor, you have to be good at indoor, and you have to be a meteorologist. You have to know what's going on with the weather all the time. Either set up alarm for the weather on your phone, something, watch, check the weather every 20 minutes more often than you check Instagram or Facebook, anything like that, you want to make sure you stay on top of that stuff. If you don't stay on top of that stuff in the greenhouse, you can lose your roof.
So, what is a good humidity for a greenhouse in cannabis?
Be honest with you, I am not a person that, holds, meters, and I'm not a technical grower whatsoever. I don't even own a pH meter at this point. So, um, I know people are like, how can you do organic tea and not have a pH meter? I'm not, going for, I don't need any of that. I'm going for just NP and K or whatever else that I'm looking for in there. So those are the amounts I care about. Usually if I get the right amounts of those that I care about, I'm already on top of the rest of it without having to check it with a meter. So I've never been really technical. I keep a thermometer in there mostly to quell other people's curiosities. But other than that, I don't have a humidity monitor or anything out there because the greenhouse I had was so outdoorsy before that I didn't even want to try to keep things alive like that. So this time I might try some new toys like that. We'll see what I come up with after I finish it and what I feel like I have a need for and what I don't. Having a sealed greenhouse will be a new experience. So I might feel the need to have a humidity meter in there and be able to check it. So it might not be an issue, might be an issue. We'll see. The first year is always going to be a learning curve. So I can't wait.
Most definitely. Most definitely. It's always. Oh yeah, you never know where the dead air spots are that you've talked about. I mean, you have to actually learn the building, how things
Yeah.
circulate around it in the environment.
Yeah. Dead air is your enemy. So when you get chilly at night, it's super hot all day and then cold all night long, super hot all day. Get up to 100 degrees in the greenhouse on nice sunny days, but then it's 40 at night. So those are the nights when mold starts to grow in your nugs and things like that you got to stay on top of it. Make sure you're shutting your greenhouse doors, early enough so you're kind of capturing some of that heat in there. Don't let it go all night long till the sun goes down and then shut your doors. Most people don't realize that, you need to be watering early before 3 p.m. Anything after that just inspires more humidity in your greenhouse. All that stuff is going to raise all night long, sweat the walls, sweat your nugs. That'll make or break any of these new Michigan greenhouse growers. A lot of people
It's got
because
to
of
be.
the
Sorry.
a lot of people because of that, new laws and stuff, or trying greenhouse and outdoor for the first time. Those are the key factors to keeping that mold out of your greenhouse. It's not what you're feeding it, not so much, what you're doing in there. It's also when.
Yeah, I think most people think when they going into the greenhouse there that they're eliminating the chances of mold because they're not getting the rains and they're not getting the frost later in the season. I think maybe a lot of them do write off possibility as of mold, letting things spike like that from time to time.
People look at it as being easy, but in my opinion, you have to be on top of a lot more things. It's not just super easy to crank out a good greenhouse grow. You can get real big plants real fast, but then what are you going to do when they're kissing the ceiling with nugs on there? So I've had so many people call me and be like, what do we do? And they outgrew their greenhouse and it's only halfway through flower. They're trying to tie plants back and get things going. So Michigan, it'll let you get away, let them get away from you. The weather here is deceiving.
Hopefully someday I'll get out there and know those troubles. I don't know. I just it'd be a whole different ball game. I look forward to the challenge someday, and that's what I think of it is. It'll be a good challenge, a good learning curve.
It's definitely a challenge. I enjoy it a lot. It's a welcome challenge. I look forward to it, yet it exhausts me totally every year. But in a good way.
Yeah, I'm glad that I never really thought about it as I mature in my career there, I've often wondered, if I'm ever going to hit that plateau of boredom to where I'm like just done with it. But as I go along, I keep finding new aspects of it that I wonder if that point will ever come. You know what I mean? As I get done in this system now that I've went from like a super soil to pro mix to cocoa. Now I'm actually a cocoa and salt person that's thinking about dipping their feet into organics. So there's always that avenue of, and I guess that someday breeding is always you could always get into the breeding avenue of it as well. And I guess you pointed out two new avenues as well. I could always dip my feet in outdoor and then greenhouses as well. And by the time I've worked my way through all them processes. Hopefully, I'm still kicking.
Hmm.
Hopefully, that sounds like a lot right there to learn and master. I don't even think mastered such a word because you should always be picking something up.
Yeah, I definitely learn something every year. I surely am no master. There's always more to learn.
So, what are some of the things that you've been able to take from the original greenhouse job into the cannabis growing aspect?
Um, well, that was kind of where I learned to feed the way I do. Because the person that I worked for at the time always just fed dilute nutrients, but fed them every time she watered, every time she watered, every time she watered. So she was getting these great, beautiful plants in little tiny pots. And I was like, well, what if I grow in just a little bit bigger pots and do cannabis? So I would still say, for um, the size of my plants and stuff, I still use on the smaller side of pots, but because I use 35-gallon pots for my plants, and that's kind of on the smaller side for doing outdoor or greenhouse. But because a lot of people will use 100-gallon pots, but I like to feed several times a day because then I can feed something that's high in silica. I can feed one that's high, that's high, if I need something that's high in nitrogen, if I need something that's whatever it is that day that I was like, oh, I want to heal my plants today. Let's make something with some aloe in it. Let's do some aloe and coconut or something like that. That's going to, just kind of let them, let them heal after I, just threw them all out here and shocked everybody. Sometimes the move out into the greenhouse is not always a pleasant one, but it it makes a big difference um, as far as the feeding goes, um, to be able to do something that's more on the dilute side, so I can feed them a couple different teas during the day, and and instead of feeding the same fertilizer nutrient mix. But when I used to grow salt, I used to grow bottled newts. I used to kind of feed them the same way. I would use hydroponic stuff and just feed them several times a day. And I was only growing in like 5-gallon buckets. Then I bumped up to like 10-gallon pots after a little while. And I grew in those for a really long time. So I had to feed them, several times a day, but I was still getting, 7-foot plants out of a 10-gallon pot. And I was just by the end, I'd be feeding them almost 3 times a day at some of the really hot days.
I'm the same way. I enjoy. I'm a hand feeder, and I don't mind it. You know, what I mean? It's a little extra work, but I believe it results in a healthier plant. I feed on the lower end, You know what I mean? Quarter strength more
I'm a big,
often. I hardly ever flush. It's more feed all the time. And
I'm a big less is more.
I run a chunky cocoa that's super airy, so I'm like watering more. I'm a big. The roots like oxygen, so why not push more as much
Mm,
oxygen to them as you can? It only makes
mm.
sense.
Yeah, that's why I like the 35-gallon pot seem to do that really well. And I can still feed twice a day if I want to, and get all the nutrients to my plants the way I want. So if I alternate different teas, I'm always feeding them something different. I'm always feeding them something new, something, oh, this one's high in manure, this one's high in this one's high in this. I collect all kinds of different stuff from everywhere. So I got farmers that let me come and take, shovels full of their composted manure and stuff like that, I know where to go. And it's like, hey, I'm going to take a wheelbarrow. See you guys. But that's what makes your weed taste good.
So I can't help but wonder. You've spoken of wanting to free up a little bit of summertime occasionally, so you could do a little bit more traveling there. With that being said, and a new system being built, is bigger pots something that you put to thought, so you can maybe not water as much, or maybe automated watering system that would
I don't
let
know.
you step
Couple
back
people been
a little bit.
couple people been trying to sell me on the blue mat, but I have to learn more about it before I consider it. So it's kind of an automated system, kind of handles everything for you.
I'm afraid to let go. Enjoy
Yeah,
that time.
I'm kind of too, because that's the time when I notice things on my plant that need to be taken care of. That's the time when I take to read my leaves and actually see what my plants need to eat. That's why how I plan the next day's teas, that, as I'm emptying out the tea bucket from the day before. So that's how I plan what I'm going to make for the next day. So I know what to feed them tomorrow. I kind of got to sit there. I got to look at the leaves. I got to see what they look like they might be low in, what I need to make sure I get off my butt and either go get or open a jar.
I really dig your farming method, by the way. I mean, it's so simplistic; it only makes sense. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really cool. More people should take that approach. I wish more people could actually utilize that system. But
I got really
sounds like it
lucky.
takes a little bit of a time, though.
I got really lucky though, because I can still, like, the house that I used to live at had so much that I could forage and use as ingredients for, nutrients for my plants. So I still can have access to the yard to go pick those things. So it's nice. I can still go, rake up some seaweed and things like that I need out of the yard. There's a lot of comfrey out in the back of the yard. There's a lot of nettles in the yard. There's a lot of horsetail in the yard. There's, tons and tons of stuff that I use, dandelion heads, everything that I, would go and pick out of the lawn. So whatever I can find that I can get at.
Yeah, I bet the free pond breaking is not objected. Most
Yeah, I
people
don't
pay
think
to
they
have
can.
that done. You come
Exactly.
by and do it just for the material. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah,
you're
I
like,
just
I
want to
like
see.
her. Plants look great this year.
I just want the seaweed, so that's all I need. But it works great.
It does.
But,
So, what other things do you think you might change in the future? Is there any
um,
other things you might change in your style?
I don't think so. I want to see how it goes. in the new place and see what I need to alter. I know there's going to be things I need to change. I've grown in a greenhouse with flooring like this one before, so I know I'll need to alter some of my um, methods back to that style that I used to use to try to reduce humidity in that place and things like that. Um, as far as just places where I need to keep fans, things like that, that I have to make sure I'm on top of, uh, and not to wash the floor a whole lot. I gotta fight my urge to wash the floor. It's really hard. So,
Why resist the urge to wash the floor?
because it creates more humidity. So, if I can keep the floor washing to a minimum, it's definitely better, especially here in Michigan. We always used to do it in all the greenhouses I've worked at. I've worked at several different ones, and we always keep the floor washing to a minimum. Even, they would rather us swept everything than, squirt it off with the hose, because even though it looks way cleaner with the hose, but it just creates so much more humidity underneath everything, creates more mold, lets all the fungus, go crazy. So then, just little stuff like that, makes a huge difference to keeping humidity down. So I know I'm going to have to stay hard on that, no washing the floor, pound it into my head again, because the last greenhouse I was in, I was spoiled and I could do whatever I wanted. It was all like 12 inches of pea stone all over the whole floor. So I could have emptied entire barrels into the floor there and it didn't matter.
What type of floor and did you choose for the new building?
It's more like decking. It's more similar to like a decking material,
I remember
but it's
you saying
it's
that
it's plastic.
I couldn't.
It's not,
As I look back, I wasn't for sure if you were referring to the old greenhouse or if that was something that you were going to instill in the new one.
yeah, it's more like a decking material. It's more on the plastic side, so it's gonna drain in the floor, but so everything will drain
Composite,
right. Huh?
a
Yeah,
composite,
composite.
or like a
Yeah.
wood decking.
No, it's not wooden. It's composite.
Nice.
And I wanted
Doesn't
something
sound
that,
cheap.
yeah, I wanted something that wasn't going to soak up water, though. So I wanted it to all just roll towards the drain and just do that. So it seems to work off well because there's no roof on the place right now, and it's raining and raining and raining all over the floor in there right now lately. So it's been pretty rainy in Michigan. So it's seems to be working out well. It's been well tested at least.
There you go. At least you're chipper about it. It's been well
Yeah.
tested.
So yeah, it's well tested. So I'm just trying to cut all the panels for the roof. I have to kind of when you put the roof on a greenhouse, you want to do it as quick as you possibly can. So winds pick up and lift your roof off at all. You want to make sure you enclose the whole thing over the course of one day. So I'm trying to make sure everything is cut properly, everything fits together right before I go slapping it up there, so I can get it all done in one shot. Maybe have a couple people come help me and get it all done in one off and just be finished with it, and that's it. So, but it's a lot of cutting.
I didn't realize you were actually building it yourself.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I built the other two
Yeah,
greenhouses myself. Why not this one too?
that's seeing the dream from sketch to finish. That's pretty awesome.
I know that's the way I want it.
It's literally building your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's good. That's pretty cool and different in the aspect of a lot of people don't know they're building from start to finish like that. You're gonna have a relationship with the whole building before you're all said and done there.
Well, then I know where all my leaks are. Then I know where all my, because every greenhouse has leaks. I don't care. Even the nicest, most wonderful, spectacular greenhouse, it's got a leak someplace. Even if it's one that just runs down the wall, there's a leak. Every greenhouse has them. It's really hard to achieve a greenhouse with zero leak at all. So if I do have any leaks, at least I'll, when I enclose it, I'll know where they're all at.
Another great attitude. Another great attitude. It's a pretty. You seem to be a self-sustained woman. You know how to take care of yourself. It seems like that's for sure.
Yeah, I've just always tried to take care of the greenhouse and stuff. It's my baby. It's my deal. So I just try to do it all myself. Then I don't have to worry about somebody else, you know, doing stuff not the way I want it done. So if I do it all myself, then I don't have to worry about it. If it's not the way I wanted it done, then that's my own fault. You can only be mad at me.
Uh, so, do you ever see yourself stepping it up again, maybe to like a micro or even a larger grow?
This one is um, a little bit bigger than my other greenhouse. Not a lot, but I didn't go too much larger because I knew that my other greenhouse was about all that I could handle physically, as far as my physical abilities to get the work done, all and everything that needs to be done every day. So I don't want to build above my abilities. In my greenhouse and with my grow and my patience and stuff, I'm a firm believer in less is more. So I don't grow my full roster of plants that I'm, legally carded for. I don't ever even close to touch it at all. So it's a lot easier for me to keep it simple rather than trying to crank out. I don't need that many plants. Neither do my patients. I know what they take every year. I know what I take every year. As long as we have that covered, then we have that covered.
Nice, nice. Sounds like you're doing it right over there all the way around. Hats off to you.
I try hard.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm definitely not going to last much longer. I need to go to sleep.
Yeah, you tired?
Mm,
Uh, I do appreciate you hanging out. That's for sure. Um,
most definitely.
and
I appreciate you
hopefully, at
having me.
some point, you do think about coming on and updating us when you get a little bit further on. It doesn't have to even be when it's fully operating. Just to see it standing would be cool. Uh,
Yeah,
or hear that it's still.
I'm really happy to come on when I get it more done. We can sit and have a chat while I'm in the greenhouse, and you can see some of the kids behind me while I can see yours. So that would be just fine with me. But we can get something rolling, get you guys in to see the place a little bit.
Nice. Well, there's a couple things I want to. Well, one thing I'd like to tell you, and then one thing I'd like to ask of you before you go. Uh, the one thing I'd like to tell you is as somebody that's done the show all the way through, uh, the numbers are always the same, the Zoom numbers. So if you ever do feel like hanging out, or we're doing an episode that you see coming up and it interests you, and it's a panel episode, you want to participate, the numbers are always the same. You know what I mean? You feel free. Feel free to jump in and be a part of things at any time you want to participate.
Thank you.
I'd like to offer that up there. The second thing I like to get from all my guests is it's a soundbite. Uh, you may think it's corny or whatever, but I think it's a fun little way to like sign off your episode. And it's like the radio advertisements, how you see the musicians. Hi, I'm on fucking 105.5, and this is Bon
Yeah.
Jovi or whatever.
Yeah.
So can you give me that? Hold on, I gotta get my record. I do record this little segment, so just it makes it easier to go back and clip it out. Uh, okay, I'm recording.
All right.
Could you give me your sound bite?
This is Mary Jane's Med Garden, and I was on talking shit with Eagle.
Thank you. I, as soft spoken as you are, I was gonna, if you didn't say the fucking, I wasn't even gonna say say nothing about it. But you threw it in there, and that was a nice little surprise. And thank you. You nailed that thing on the first time, and I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah. If
This
you
has
ever
been
meet
fun.
me in person, I use the F word freely, but usually when I'm public speaking a little more, I try to let it go.
Nice. I wouldn't have guessed, to be honest with you, in speaking with you. I would have been to see you in person to use it. I would have been like, really? I would have never seen that coming. But that's cool.
Anybody that
I
knows me know
appreciate
I'm all about the F bombs. So.
it. There's nothing wrong with that. Adam Sandler does at least under my audio file. Uh, it's the uses of the word fuck, and it's so funny how they use it as a noun, a verb, and all the way through, and then they finish it off with you can use it as almost every word in the sentence, such as "fuck the fucking fuckers." And I'm like, oh, that is just too funny, but true, but true.
Definitely.
So cool. I'm
Definitely.
glad you had some fun, and I look forward to hearing from you again. And I hope you do. From the bottom of my heart, I hope you had some fun tonight. I know you had a tiny bit of uh, reservation on coming on, so I'm glad that you decided to come on, and hopefully you did have some fun coming on and
Yeah,
talking
I
with
did
me
have
tonight.
fun. It was nice talking with you tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed what I had
Nice.
to say.
Oh, I'm sure of it. I am absolutely 100% sure of it. There's still 52 watching. It's 3:18 in the
Wow.
morning.
Hi,
So,
guys.
yes, they did enjoy it.
Thanks for watching.
So, thank you.
So
Get
awesome.
some rest, and I hope to hear from you soon.
All right. Can't wait. I'll let you know when I finish the roof and we can do it again.
Thanks. Good night.
Peace. Have a good night. Good night, guys.
Peace. Thank you, Mary.
Thanks.
Another great episode. I hope you guys, well, I know you guys enjoyed it. A fun, pure-hearted guest that you can tell grows with their heart, and I love the technique. Everything she did was it sounded like a great flower in the end. She's very heartfelt with the way she treats her patients, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from her. And So with that being said, you guys know the deal. There's still an hour left. I'm gonna go ahead and end this episode and re-upload the rabbit hole portion of the episode, so I don't do anything stupid to get this episode taken down. So it's forever saved. And I'll see you, whoever you diehards want to check in and talk in a few. With that being said, thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight, and I'll see you in a few. Have a good night. Peace.